Hello,
Hell.
ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special episode of the GeekVerse podcast. We are here at it's had many names, but we are at Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's going to be the spoilers review. I am the Clown Prince of Podcasts, Travis Snail. And I'm joined by...
I am your friendly neighborhood caster, Kirklin.
Mhm, as well as...
Ladies first.
I feel like those are just OG names. Aren't we doing like relative names?
You can do whatever you want.
My name is Relative. The Joker is in this movie.
Mine's a comic book character. Okay. It's on the wall next to Travis.
I am Barry's meat snack, Jessica.
Oh.
Wow, Carl's going to like that one.
I am the trapped family, Taylor Field.
Trap family, okay.
So like
An
so
entire
dark.
family.
It
Yeah.
means so many different things.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a cast that's been talked about for 5 years now. We've ran the gamut, but we are finally here. What we're going to do is we're going to give you our overalls. We'll take an ad break, and then we're going to spoilers. Before we get that, just a few plugs to get out of the way. It's going to be, we'll do them quickly because it's late over here. So, Taylor, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection. GeekVerse.ca is our home base with all of our content and episodes. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and then GeekVerse is our Facebook. Be sure to check us out on our Facebook because we have tons of stuff posted there, including our fan base Godzilla community poll.
Yeah, like Taylor just mentioned with Godzilla vs. Kong, we'll be reviewing that coming up in a few weeks, so check that out. We'll be reviewing in the next 24 hours Falcon Winter Soldier's debut. If you like that, go and check WandaVision. We reviewed every single episode. Go to our Patreon, and this one's on the main feed, the Man of Steel retrospective, but the BVS commentary track, the Justice League 2017 is up there, but you got a bunch of episodes. They're ad-free, early, and exclusive feed. After Nine's up there. We just did another one that's going to be going twice a month next month where you can call in. Just tons of good stuff there. So if you like what we do, please support us there. Or by subscribing to the video or audio feeds. Subscribe to video feeds can do the chat. We're not live tonight because Taylor's computer's a little buggy, so we're doing that. And then more importantly, just give us a nice review on Apple Podcasts. So
Taylor was so salty that you threw his computer under the bus there.
it happens, one day it just we can't control these things. We're lucky more things aren't busted around here.
That's true.
We've had cords broken the past few weeks, microphones. Jessica's USB port might be fucking broken. So
Okay, now you're throwing my computer under the bus too
I'll
here.
throw all of them. My lights suck. Like, look at this. I have to rearrange my room because now I have these lights. Like, it just doesn't look like it's dark because my hair's back, so it's a little shade there. And I got the green on like one side, so
I couldn't even tell the green was on. Yeah, that's poor lighting.
Well, no, because I don't want to have the lights off anymore because like it doesn't give the full effect of the nice HD quality. But the greens, you could see the green right there. Like, look at that, and
Well,
behind.
now
me,
that you brought it up.
Yeah, only when you point it out though. I
Looks
definitely
like you
didn't
have
notice it either.
a Green Lantern symbol just glowing on your chest. That's what
That's
it
fine.
reminds me of.
I actually
Yeah.
got the Joker right now with a cat.
Hey, let's go.
But let's talk about all this goodness. And you know what? I'm gonna take the floor. I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna go first.
That's
and
rare.
just get it.
You
Yeah.
never go first.
Well, I know that I think a lot of people are going to be curious about my opinion on this, and I think I am the most well versed in like what's been happening these past 5 years. So I am not like the biggest DC Snyder diehard, but I have followed this pretty regularly. We've talked about many times on Geek First, and it's been such a journey, especially for myself, thinking of like this thing didn't exist to think of like, oh, it might exist, but it might just kind of be a few scenes to, hey, I think it exists, but I don't think they're ever going to pay for this, like, as it cost $70 million. I thought eventually near the end, we even did a cast where I said, yeah, I think it does exist, but this is never going to see the light of day. So the fact that we're doing this cast is one of those, like, weird checkbox ones of, like, it would have been on the list, but I was always like, I hope it happens so we can podcast about it one day. And we're here now, and you can go back. We've podcasted a bunch over the past few weeks, but I was not a fan of the Justice League one 2017. I feel so right after I was just saying I was so wrong about the Snyder Cut as far as with Justice League and Suicide Squad. I'm talking about how the editing was so shit and all this stuff. And I remember the first time I got called a Marvel dick sucker was after the Suicide Squad review. And now in retrospect, everyone hates those fucking movies because they've realized Warner Brothers was like messing around with them and they were edited poorly. Gee, who would have thunk? So I was very interested what was going to happen with this movie because I love a lot of Zack Snyder films. I like a lot, and then I won't say I dislike a lot, but there are some I do dislike. it's very interesting, and I think the best way we're going to get into spoilers is you take the 2017 one and this one. And I think, to get into analogy, they're both pizzas, right? They both have dough, they both have pizza sauce, and they both have cheese on them. But the difference is the toppings. At their base, they're very similar, but it's what's on the toppings. The 2017 one was a mix of like a dessert pizza and a meat lover, so it wasn't good. You had two distinctive styles hitting each other. This one, it had a clear vision. I've always said that. The 2017 one I didn't like because it just felt like a mess, where this was Zack Snyder. I don't like a lot of the choices he's made with the DC movies, but I always go, you know what, he stands by them and he at least has a vision. So that was good to get. So I watched this film, and I am surprised to kind of say that I loved it, actually. I can't believe this. This is, to me, my favorite Zack Snyder DC movie. It's because I think I have the least amount of problems. I still have issues with the movie, and we'll bring those up, but I think as far as all the things I did like in the theatrical cut, the majority of those were his, and some of them I was surprised about, especially by the humor. I think they did a great job, and that's the thing. Everyone says like this is better than theatrical. It is, but this movie could have never came out back then because it was 2017. They were going to put a 4-hour movie in the theaters, but I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I was surprised how much I actually had goosebumps at times. I had a few like fist pumping like stand up moments, and I I understand why they didn't go with this cut in 2017, but there's just some things in general, telling spoilers, that I don't even understand why you would even reshoot or redo when you look. And like, this scene works great, it works fine here, and it's just like, no, we had to reshoot. And we got like ugly Henry Cavill with the mustache, and it's just, it flabbergasted me, some of the choices that were made, and it flabbergasted me to say that. And it's definitely because we have Joker and the Batman. We have these multiverse movies coming out that are their own stories. But I'm sitting here saying, like, I do actually want more Snyder DC, and I didn't think I'd say that. Even though I'll watch this, I'll be happy with it, but then I'll kind of move on or not be happy with it. But I loved a lot of it, and I'm very excited to talk about. But I think this was just an absolute win, and I'm very curious to see what the next like week and 2 weeks are going to be after the reaction, because there's some good changes in here, and there's just some big, especially I'd say the back half of this movie, there's a lot that changed. And this thing, like, most of the stuff I knew about because the people I'm friends with and podcast with, I know all the beats except for like 3 or 4 things, but to see it actually on screen was nuts. It was like seeing a comic come to life. So yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought. This, like I said, it's my favorite Snyder DC movie, and my last point is, before I throw it to someone else, is just, if they do anything more, I think they have to do this, where my favorite Snyder movie is his 5-hour Watchmen cut. I love the Ultimate Cut. I watch that once a year. It's just so good. And I think the pacing for me actually flew by, considering it's a 4-hour movie. So, Taylor Field, I'll throw to you, because you're somebody from the perspective of, because you liked the 2017 one. So how did this compare to you, and how was your watch of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yeah, again, I do like that original one. Now, I know, like I said before, when this movie was kind of coming closer and closer to release, I was thinking like, the hype isn't really there for me. There's all these trailers and all this mumbo jumbo, and it was just kind of like pulling out my excitement. That being said, going through the film and watching it and having these dedicated story arcs to each of these characters and getting background to, again, the villains and everything, it made me really, really enjoy it. And again, there were some flaws and cons that I'll point out along the way. Like, I definitely don't see why this needed to be the full 4 hours. There were so many scenes I feel like could have been cut down. Like, there was probably like 30 slow-mo scenes. I'm like, why the fudge do we have all these slow-mo scenes?
That's what he does. That's his
Don't complain
style,
when it's in Transformers, Taylor.
No. Okay, you got me there, but like, again, like,
Snyder should direct a Transformers movie.
I would
think he
be
actually
down.
do pretty well.
That would be
4-hour
very
movie.
good.
5-hour, because he just, one scene of the robots just turning into a car and whatnot.
Like, I'm sure
lots of slow-mo.
I'm sure the, like, for all the DC fans, like, these slow-mo scenes, like, they're just like eating it up. They're eating their chips and watching that, and that's like good for them. So I'm happy for them. But yeah, there was a lot, and it was fun to compare it to the original, just by looking at, like, okay, they actually cut all these scenes out. Like, I was expecting this to happen, and then it wasn't there. And then all the lines, because we just watched the original one not too long ago, it was enjoyable. I'm glad we did that, because, like I said, there were lines that they had yanked out, which I thought was funny. A lot of the humor was axed, and I'm okay with that as well, because it definitely felt more Zack Snyder like. So Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about in spoilers. Jessica, what? I'm curious because we're gonna reveal it at the end when we do our ratings or whenever you stay with us. But we had opinions on what you thought was gonna feel about this movie. What did you think about this film, the 4 hour Zack Snyder Justice League?
Uh, I definitely feel like by the end of it, I was really done. I was just like, okay, this needs to wrap up. Like 4 hours is a flippin' long time, and I'm over this. That being said, I in I did enjoy it more than the first one, which
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say much because I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
the OG. um, but as I said, I was able to appreciate that we kind of went into this already knowing a little bit about these characters, and that kind of allowed him to expand on them without worrying about either trying to set up a backstory too fast or relying on movies that were all already out or coming out. I feel like things were just definitely more fleshed out and thought about, kind of going on what you said with the pizza thing, that you know he knew what he wanted to order.
Yeah.
you know um I do think that at some points I really wasn't able to tell what was old and what was new, so I'm guessing a lot of that was probably his scenes from the original, that it just kind of it felt cohesive in this one. Where I think now if I were to go back and watch the 2017, it would be very obvious what was the new director versus what was Snyder, because
Mm-hmm.
this just felt a lot more cohesive. There was definitely a couple scenes that you picked out that it was like, oh, that really painful scene that we made fun of on our cast was gone.
Yeah.
And there was more than one of those that got taken out. So, and I do think it is interesting because it's been talked a lot about how, is it Ray Fisher?
Ray Fisher, yeah, who was Cyborg.
Yeah, how he is the backbone of this movie, and it's true. He definitely got a
Mm-hmm.
lot more kind of screen time, and he definitely helped kind of take that arc, um, of the whole movie kind of where it needed to be. So you're right to say that you are the one that has definitely been following this more and knows more about it. I can't go into the full details of everything. I can just come in it from I watched the movie. I
Mm-hmm.
have an opinion on it. I'm excited to hear some other thoughts though, and let Kirkland go at it first though.
Kirkland.
Yeah, so I guess just some history with me and the Snyder Cut. I hated the first Justice League movie. I thought it was an absolute shit show, just a complete mess, and I really did not like 90% of that film.
Wow.
I'm just trying to set the.
No, I just mean 90%. That's a big barometer. That's
Oh
a
no,
lot.
yeah,
Like,
like I
yeah.
really hated that movie.
Yeah.
It was disgusting to watch. I'll throw that word out. And I just did not show interest in like the Snyder Cut. I wasn't on Twitter till recently. So wasn't really involved with it there, and I just really didn't like that first movie. So I'm like, I don't care what happens. This movie is just gonna be shit, no matter what they do to it. Like, so that was kind of my mindset. So like just with the trailers and stuff, I just yeah, okay, these scenes kind of look cool. Steppenwolf looks cool now, but like I don't think it's enough to save the movie. Man, was I wrong. I was totally in Travis's boat for this one. I absolutely love this film. I'm not gonna lie. It was 4 hours long. But like Travis mentioned, like except for maybe in the beginning, I thought it dragged on a little bit, but like for the rest of the 4 hours, like I was totally engaged and it didn't seem to be sluggish for me. I just was totally engaged on it. I felt like so much of it was different. I don't know. Maybe we'll compare some scenes, but I felt like so much of it was different from like the original one. Just with the length of the film, we just got so much more detail and backstory with certain characters and stuff that I thought was just so redeeming for what I saw in that first film. Um, I feel like I came out of it loving pretty much all the characters like so much more. Like I am so on like the Ben Affleck Batman trend now, and like I was not before. Even in BVS, I was just like, yeah, it's kind of weird to see him on screen there. I guess he's Bruce Wayne and stuff, but
Especially like I can't wait for spoilers, but that back half of like all the stuff that was going on with Batman was like, oh fuck, I need some more Ben Affleck Batman like tomorrow.
no,
Like,
100%. And like the biggest thing that I came out of this film with was like, man, like I want to see more of this extended universe.
Hmm.
Like I want to see more of these characters, and I felt like that was like the biggest goal that I didn't know I wanted, like coming out
Yeah.
of this film was like wanting that. I think when we were going over like I don't know in a newscast talking about the trailers, I was like, I just don't want to be like sitting there for 4 hours thinking that I'm wasting my time, and that obviously I didn't get that. I got much more than that, so that's super positive. And no, I'm excited to talk about spoilers, but just I'm so happy that it redeemed like these characters for me. Like I feel like I after Wonder Woman and we reviewed that, I was like putting Wonder Woman down a tier a little bit because I just really didn't like that film, which sucks because after the first Wonder Woman, I absolutely loved her in there and liked what she was in BVS. But like this, I felt like I like her so much more now. Aquaman, like all the characters, like I just liked so much more, and I felt like because of the length of this film, I just got more time with them and just to explain certain things and yeah, I'm just super positive on it, and I'm excited to talk spoilers.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm gonna say is, because as far as this coming out as a 4-hour movie, I think that's the best thing and everything like that. But obviously, there's like a long road to get here, and everyone knows the story and whatnot. But down below, I've donated to it. The DC guys are donating to it this week. You can go down below. I will have the link for the AFSP charity, which is for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. There's a I can't remember what the official term is, but there's an account in Autumn's name, which is his daughter, and that will be in down below. So please support that. It's for a great cause. There's lots of great people that do streams for them as well. So that will be down there because obviously that's a bit more, way more important. And it's not anything spoilers or anything like that. He's talked about this. Like the movie ends with For Autumn, and the credits for the movie, like I said, he's talked about this was the song that was played at his daughter's funeral. It was the same singer that actually performed as well, and and even then, like I'm a fan of the guy as far as just like I like a lot of his work, but I don't follow everything. But that like as a father, like that I was I was balling in the credits there because just that whole story as far as like no matter what, even the fact of like how I didn't really like Man of Steel or stuff with BVS, it's kind of just like for this guy, I'm just happy for him that he got to do this, like he got to, and that's a good thing with like even if it is 4 hours, then there might be stuff you could cut. I look at it for him, he's probably like, well, you know what? If I never get to do anything like this again, I'm putting everything I can in this, and
Yeah.
so yeah, the link will be down below there. Please support that, share that around. Obviously, it's gonna be talked about a lot this weekend, but yeah, we are going to get into spoilers. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, so buckle up. We're gonna take our first ad break, and then let's do this. Okay, we're back. I have no fucking clue where to start with this. I'm not sure if we start with highlights, lowlights, the beginning, or the end. So anyone, if they want to throw, Taylor's looking like he wants his mouth's opening up. He has a smile.
Yeah, let's go open
So
it up.
lead us into the Snyder Cut. We are officially here.
I want to go right to the end, and
The
Okay.
epilogue.
I want to start right with the the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jared Leto, and
Yes.
his performance. I just want to, like, I have to say, I really liked it. That whole scene and just his performance as Joker, I was really liking it.
First of all, that was really sexual.
That was very creepy. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was very creepy.
That is a good place to start off because that was one of our first memes. We got a hunka shirt T public, and that like became a legendary cast of Suicide Squad 1. I am very so. Here's the thing. I liked it more than Squad, so that's good. And there were stuff in the scenes I did like. I'm 50-50 on as far as I just want to see him do it longer. Like between Squad and this, we never get a good gauge of what he's actually doing. And for me, there's 50-50 of when he was pulled back, talking to Batman really like kind of quietly, like essentially. I loved actually. I thought he was killing it. When he got like really like animated again, when he's like poor Lois, and that sounds like oh no, here we go. Like he's starting to do the Jim Carrey SNL thing. So I'd like to see it longer again. I'm still not a fan of the laugh. I just don't like. Sometimes it works, but it's just like it's so.
It sounds like a bird call, like
Yeah. Like no wonder why he has no teeth. Like that must have fucking broke. But like that scene, like the whole movie did wanted me to have more of the Snyderverse because I liked the movie, I liked the actual ending, and then we got the epilogue stuff. But oh my god, I was literally pacing around my living room when they were referring to all this history between the two of like just all the reveals of one, Joker knows it's Bruce now, and then just that line of like, who have you ever lost? Like, oh, you've lost a father and a mother, and he's like, you better be really careful not to cross a certain line. And when he said adopted son, it was like, oh my fucking god, and everything. And then he said Truce Bruce, and just every single thing, and just that line, I couldn't believe this. And this is where sometimes I've given Snyder shit, because I said he's very broy and whatnot, and I had heard Batman was going to drop an F-bomb in this movie, and I went, oh, classic Snyder bro and whatnot. But that line of, yeah, Harley Quinn died in my arms, and her last words for me to kill you, and I promise you, I'm going to fucking kill you. Oh my goodness, my geekgasm happened all over, because I've always said if Batman's allowed to kill, the one rule should be it's Joker. That's the one person I'm always like, yeah, that guy's a piece of shit. So everything, all that lore we were getting there, I loved it, and I did like Jared Leto's, like I said, performance for the most part, but there were still some times where it did feel too over the top. So that's why I said I'm 50-50, but I'm more positive coming out of it. So
Something that I found hilarious in that specific scene was when he was like playing with the card and just talking to him. There was like a lot of close-ups on his hands. It felt like they were just like fuzzying out his face. Like I swear, like I feel like most of the dialogue, like you just couldn't see his face because it was just like kind of in the background. Like the camera was focused on his hands or whatever. I'm like, they're totally trying to hide his face. But
you didn't even mention Travis. I just want to add on to that. You know, when he says, I'm going to kill you. Okay, that line that the Joker delivers after that, then who's going to give you a reach around?
He said that before. He said that.
Was that before?
I've watched that scene shamelessly already 5 times. Like, it's the scene. Like, I re-round watched. But yeah, that was one where I was like, I like it, but I don't, because I like the Joker Batman dynamic of him saying, like, you can't kill me, I'm your best friend. So I like that. But when he said I was going to give you a reach around, I was like,
Hey,
I don't know.
should I Google what reach around is, because I don't fully like.
Reach around is like,
right?
Well,
like the large spoon is reaching around and
yeah.
giving you a handy.
Manual stimulation of a sexual partner's genitals during anal. Whoa.
Yeah, so
My Way was definitely a little more PG.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jessica.
And this, hey, it's a radar movie, you can do it, but this Joker is very like sexual. We've talked about that before. But then I love that they call back to the history as far as he takes that card from him and Joker's hand's like shaking and he's like, oh, you almost had me there. So it's like this classic Batman thing of like, yeah, sure, Batman's saying he's gonna kill him, but it's like, we've gotten this far in Apocalypse and you still haven't killed him. Like, why would we believe you? And Joker's kind of calling him out like, yeah, you're saying you're gonna kill me, but you're probably not going to kill me, are you? And I just even that one moment was like, I need a full movie of what's happening right now in this world with just these two. And because the Robin and Nightwing, I love that they called back to it finally. They had a conversation about that because he killed the Robin in BVS. That's the lore. And I finally love that we got that addressed and talked about. And oh my God.
Travis isn't going back to bed. He's just going to go pace around the room.
I'm going to watch that scene over and over. But just when he said adopted son, it was like, oh, fuck, here we go.
2 things. The first thing I was gonna just talk about was like the fact this movie, because it's rated R, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it had to be, honestly. I think they were so like PG with like the amount of like graphic violence that they had.
I wouldn't say they were. There was an Atlantean who
examples.
got cut right in half, and then an Atlantean got cut right in half by a Steppenwolf. At least 2 of them, I think. One for sure, and then the Amazonians got absolutely massacred.
Well, I think what
but
Kirklin's
like
saying
minimal blood though. Like
yeah.
And
I think if they wanted this to be in the theaters, they could have edited that stuff out. I think he did this because it's on HBO Max, but you could have easily edited a lot of this to put in theaters for PG-13 if you want.
Yeah, like when it's R-rated, I'm expecting some Henry Cavill dong, like full frontal action or something. Didn't get that. I was a little upset. But like, there was like what, maybe 2 F-bombs in this entire film.
There's 3.
Where?
Okay, sorry, there's 3.
So the bank heist, the criminal says like no one fucking move.
Oh yeah.
Cyborg with the egregious fuck the world one. That was a little too much for me. Yeah, when she's like the world needs your gifts and he's like fuck the world, and it was like oh okay, like that was a little.
He goes off with the cube. It's like that guy's. Is he a bad guy now?
He's having a whole midlife crisis now. But like, and it's so funny because the Batman one's I worried about the most, and that's the one I liked the most. But yeah, and then there was the Batman. Like I promise you, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
And they took out the Barry fuck though, didn't they?
Yeah, they
Very
did,
fucked.
which is so. Remember, we had that debate in the commentary track if he said "fuck" or not, and
when
he
he
did.
when he
Oh
trips.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Right.
did because that scene was they took out the whole him falling on because that was anything that was Whedon's is not in this movie. Zach said that months ago. It said like I will not use a frame of that. He said he would
Oh,
burn the
okay.
film if he
Yeah, I
had.
was
So
gonna
nothing
ask.
that Whedon
He
shot.
does trip in this one still, but he
Yeah, it
doesn't
just
swear.
doesn't land on the boobs either of
No,
Wonder Woman. Yeah.
yeah, but he doesn't. He swears when he trips.
Mhm.
So they obviously reshot it or just took out the voiceover of the.
Yeah.
Oh, they cut a lot of dialogue in this one.
And then just going back to like the rated R-ness of it, like I felt like most of the violence, like it's something that I probably would have seen in an Avengers movie, but maybe just like more blood added on. But even then, it wasn't that much. Like there was 2 instances that I thought were like, damn, that was pretty graphic, and that was when Superman like just rips off Steppenwolf's horn thing, whatever that thing is. That was pretty
His
gruesome.
antler, his buck
Yeah, his
antler.
And then shortly after that was when Darkseid just like stomped his face, and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, see, I wanted like when I'm going into an R-rated movie, like I'm not, I don't know, I'm not attracted to that type of violence, but like I'm expecting something, you know?
Well, I guarantee you though that like he still probably because remember he shot this in 2016. He probably shot it with the idea of this will still be PG-13 and whatever
Yeah.
he could make rated R like CGI stuff or stuff like when he throws that Steppenwolf throws that Atlantean against a rock and they just had the blood smear. I
Yeah.
guarantee you in PG-13 the blood wouldn't be there, but I think he just took what he had and be like, well, how can I make it a bit more raw, a bit more
But
gritty,
don't
and a
you
bit
think
more
you're limiting
violent?
your audience by doing that?
Not on streaming now. Like I think on in theaters, yes, but on streaming, I think if any kid will like, they'll sneak in and they'll watch it on HBO
Yeah.
Max. And
Okay.
even then, like I don't think it is like I think a kid could watch this. Like they're like
No, yeah,
depending on the
100%.
age.
That's
but
why I
like,
don't think it should be R-rated because
Yeah.
any kid could watch this and
Are you gonna
not
watch
be
it with
traumatized.
Gwen Travis?
She watched the last half of it. Yeah, she just
Right
like
on.
it. There's not that much to it, and like I
No,
said,
exactly.
it's the f bombs too. But you could easily take those out if you were to keep one. You definitely got to keep the Batman one because that was like the prime one. But
So the
yeah.
kids that were expecting Tom and Jerry have nothing to be concerned about, or at least their
Well,
parents
yeah, maybe
have nothing to
them.
be concerned
Yeah,
about.
maybe them.
Maybe
But,
them.
yeah.
And then I had another point. What were we talking
We were talking about
about
Jared
before?
Leto's Joker. We saw him back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole epilogue thing, other than the joke, obviously it was a huge moment for Travis, and I'm sure there's tons of other Batman fanboys out there that absolutely love that stuff. But for me, I was like waiting the whole film for like, okay, I know that we're going to this like disaster world and all this stuff, and what's it called? Just like the apocalypse?
Nightmare.
Oh,
with a
Nightmare.
K.
Ooh. And so I'm like, yeah, I know we're getting there. And then I saw my timestamp. I'm like, okay, there's only an hour left.
Mhm.
And in my mind at the time, I'm like, okay, their plan's gonna go terribly. They're gonna have to like reverse time to like fix this thing. It ended up just being a dream. But like, what was the significance there? Is that just there's another world out there that they didn't win, or
Yeah, I think. Well, I think what's going to be happening is it's kind of multiple timelines. If we were to get more, is I think you could kind of get 2 concurrent timelines of them living in this apocalypse where everything did go wrong. Obviously, Superman lands and he's fucking evil, so things
Yeah.
clearly didn't go right. There's going to be that, and then I think it would be the other side of the story where the heroes are trying to stop that from happening. Bruce is getting these premonitions, which is really just Flash from the future feeding this into him. As
Mhm.
far as I think that's what would the movies would be like. Let's get this, let's not let this happen. How could we stop this? Obviously, Lois Lane dying is one of those things, and like in the middle of the film when Cyborg had his first like visions of it, and like when they just showed Wonder Woman as a fucking slab with no arms or legs.
okay, that was creepy. Yeah.
Holy shit, that got like I was like engaged already, but I was like, holy shit! And then they show like Superman literally just like holding Lois's skeleton. It was like, oh my god. So
Yeah.
I think what they're saying is like you would kind of get a dual hander of the heroes in the present and the heroes in the future, and maybe it's like I said about trying to stop that from coming. I think they would do
Okay.
more Nightmare stuff just because like that's just like cool scenery and like action
Yeah.
set
Well,
pieces and like that.
Joker alluded to it, right? Again.
Yeah,
him
well, yeah, he's like,
insulting
how many?
Batman.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, he always has to insult Batman. He's like, how many multiverses have you caused like the destruction of because you wouldn't die and everything like that.
Mhm.
But I love the weird Justice League we have going on of like Joker, Batman, Mara, Deathstroke, and Cyborg and Flash, just like this weird collection of people. So
Yeah.
I think it's so that stuff is the stuff they shot last year / this year, the Nightmare stuff at the end there. I don't. Warner Brothers must know, but and he's a smart guy. He so fucking put that in there just so when people were done watching this movie, if they like this movie, they want to see more because it's
Oh,
not a
yeah.
fucking. Sure, it's a
Well,
dream
Well
sequence, but
played,
like,
Snyder.
yeah, it's not a dream sequence. Like you're full on just feeding like, oh, you guys want more, and the thing is, I fucking do want more. So it worked
Yeah.
on me. But I think that's what it was, just to be like, hey, like, look,
Yeah.
you could have more of this.
Because I mean, I guess I got some of that, and then it was awesome seeing Martian Manhunter at the end there too, interacting with Bruce. But like for me, I already had the feeling of wanting more before that epilogue even happened. Like I was so pumped over this movie. We haven't even really talked about it yet. We've only been in the epilogue, but yeah, just in the moment, I was a little confused on just the reasoning behind that. I'm like, was that really just a dream, or obviously I was incorrect, and it is signaling something possibly in the future.
Well, because it just cuts from like we'll talk about like the Lex boat scene, and that cuts just to that, right? There's no like in the future this or that, and then it is a dream sequence. So it was a little, it was a little strange, but for me it worked because like I like the Nightmare stuff, and honestly,
Yeah.
like you said, because I'm a Batman fanboy, I just always want, even my disdain for Leto's Joker, I still always thought they should have a scene together. You shouldn't have a Batman
Yeah.
and Joker and them never have a scene. And how did that work for you seeing Leto back? Kind of the same, or do you have any strong
I
feelings?
was
'Cause again,
so just like
he wasn't in it
indifferent
much.
on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm like my I don't know. I feel like I've kind of become a Joker guy just because of like Heath Ledger's Joker and then Joaquin's. So I've just like recency in my head, I have those memories of it, but I've never really like been a huge fan of him from back in the day, like on the TV show or anything. So I wasn't like wanting this. I just was more curious as to when he was going to show up because of course we knew about like him being cast and all these things. So like from minute one, I'm like, hey, when are we gonna get him popping
Yeah.
in here? And then, of course, I waited till the entire like right at the end, and I'm like, I guess it's okay. I don't, I don't know. I feel like I was just kind of confused on why we were there in the first place. So pretty indifferent there, but I did love seeing like the mashup, almost like their own Suicide Squad, just like unlikely pairings, and then. Yeah, when Superman dropped down and he had the red eyes, oh, that was so menacing. I mean, I guess in hindsight, I am wanting more because of that scene, because I do want to see more of Bad Cavill and stuff like that. I think that's
Yeah.
just really intriguing. But yeah, overall, I don't know, 6 out of 10 on the epilogue. I'll give it.
Wow. Okay, Jessica, how did the Joker and Batman stuff work for you? And obviously, there's other stuff, but that kind of that epilogue in general.
Yeah, so once again, going into that, you obviously know more than I do for sure. I would venture to say more than probably everyone in this cast. I didn't know, and obviously Kirklin said he didn't know that this was like Barry feeding him premonitions. It took me until you guys were talking there to even, there was that one scene where he says, oh, I had this dream about Lois or whatever it was. There's that one scene he's talking about it. So it does get mentioned in the movie that he has these premonitions about what's happening. But when I watched it, and then all of a sudden he woke up, and I was just like, well, what the fuck was the point in watching that for the past 5 minutes when it's just a dream and it means nothing? But to know that it actually has some meaning and that this is, the possible future and it makes it a little more meaningful. I definitely think that when you're throwing it in at the very, very end like that, it's definitely like, get Warner Brothers to give me more money.
Sequel bait, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You want this. Look at you guys complain about the Joker. I've changed him. You wanted this. Look what I've done. And I do think that it does work because as someone who's just kind of a casual watcher, it's interesting. It's like, why is there this kind of rat tag group of superheroes, and why is Superman evil, and why is Barry's suit different, and there's all these kind of little questions that it's right now I don't have an answer, and as of right now there's no possibility of an answer because there's supposedly no continuation of anything from Snyder. So I think they did a really good job with that. And to tie that back originally, because this is the first time we've kind of gotten a full Joker scene, I still have a problem with the makeup thing, whatever that is. But I liked this Joker better than, what we've seen previously from him in Suicide Squad. I don't know that, he's definitely not my favorite.
Mhm.
I think we could all say that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is, you know, still better than this at attempt number 2 at Jared Leto.
Oh
But,
yes.
but he's improved on it, and I would be interested in seeing a longer portion of a scene with him, not just a 5 minute thrown in at the end as, like you said, sequel bait.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, because you were the one who brought this up. You brought some sort of Joker, but how did the epilogue work for you?
Again, I feel like this movie had. I said 6, and at the time I thought it was 6 endings, and then it just turned into like 8 endings. Um, but as far as the epilogue goes, I really enjoyed it. I thought, okay, we're getting some post-apocalyptic stuff here, and it this is a long time ago. This is something that I wanted DC to focus on, because we got into this whole conversation about DC just kind of doing these main films, and it felt like they were trying to compete with Marvel and do their own stories and stuff. And I thought to myself, like, we're getting these main superhero character storylines with Marvel and these movies, and as much as I'd love to see these storylines pursued, like for Batman and Superman, all that stuff, I felt like DC needed to pursue these alternate stories like Birds of Prey and like Shazam and stuff about characters that are kind of different. And that epilogue scene basically, uh, it contains everything I want to see more out of DC. This whole band of characters that I was not expecting to team up, just going through hell and facing off against bad Superman. That just is, it's awesome. Again, the cherry on top was the dialogue between Heath Ledger's Joker, or not Heath Ledger's Joker,
Cut the
Jared
stream.
Leto.
Cut the stream.
Jared Leto's Joker and Batman. So I get him just saying, like, talking about and throwing that boy wonder at him, like
Oh,
everything
yeah.
about it was just cringy, and like,
Send a boy wonder to do a man's job. Oh my god,
that was
so good.
horrible. Like, I
Yeah.
again, when I was watching with Madison, like, I was kind of like poking fun at certain moments and everything like that, and then finally, like, there were some serious parts, but that scene, that whole epilogue scene was just the most serious, where I was leaning forward in my seat and
Oh, yeah.
just like, I couldn't, I was the world didn't exist around me. I was so honed in at what was going on. And
You're like Flash run through the Speed Force.
yeah, like and again, I'm really happy with what Zack Snyder did with the Joker. I think, like, I liked how he looked, and I just, his actions and the way he was moving around was good. The laugh did throw me off, of course, because it's just his little like chickadee fucking bird laugh or whatever. But like,
Chickadee.
he felt like a Joker, and I love that he was just probing Bruce Wayne. And
You wanted to probe
he
already.
did want to, yeah.
Well, and you brought about like the whole team aspect, and that's why I actually, because at first, like, so the Eisenberg Luther thing that he shot with Deathstroke, that was way long ago and everything like that. And I'd still like because I always wondered, like, did they reshoot that? They reshot some of the dialogue. I think of like, oh, we'll start a league of our own, but they kept the original dialogue, because if you remember, we were supposed to get the Batman movie, and the Batman movie was all supposed to be about Deathstroke ruining Batman's life. And that was, because that to me was like a little like another hanger sequel bait of like, hey, you still want that Ben Affleck Batman movie or a series? Well, that when he was like, oh, like, I have something on Batman that can help you, and he says his name is Bruce Wayne, I gasped. I was like, because I'd heard that, I kind of had an idea that this is the route we were going to go, but the fact that it was actually in the movie was so cool. But I love that we get this moment of Deathstroke on the boat talking about, like, it's something personal. He's after the Batman, but then, maybe a decade, whatever later, they have to team up together. So like the dichotomy of one scene, Deathstroke is like planning his demise, and then the next scene, they're having to work together. And right away, same thing. It's like, I want to know that story. Like, hey, how did this all go down? And yeah, I love, and same thing with Eisenberg. Like, I got that a little bit from the theatrical cut, but again, I really want to see him get another crack at. Where Leto, I'm still like a little more like, okay, there's still some things I don't like about the take. This is like, he is playing a bit more that classic Lex, and I love how kind of cold he is, opposed to in BVS, where he's very, spatic, and he's very spitting things out, and he's very
Shooting
energetic.
hoops.
Yeah, shooting. Yeah, ahoy! Like putting cherries in people's mouth. Like, like this, like ice cold Eisenberg. Like we saw a little bit in 2017, but again, it's like, I want to see more of this again too. And that thing is just like, I want to see these roads, and I love that scene. I'm happy it was there. But yeah, like, the slow mo. Even Deathstroke just walking up the stairs, he gets slow mo and everything like that. But it's a Snyder thing. But I really like the Deathstroke Luther kind of stinger as well. I know it
What
was in the epilogue, but
what movie was that end credit scene in originally? Was it Justice League?
it was, but they had
Oh,
reshot it, and it was about Lex talking about like creating a league of our own. So it's just like him
yeah,
making, and like they completely took out anything about Deathstroke and the Batman stuff, because that was at the point where I think Ben wasn't coming back. So they're like,
yeah,
let's take that out. But now this is because it's supposed to be the original version. Snyder put it in, and again, I think this also just gets fan like sequel baity, because people already
yeah,
want Affleck back. He's coming back for Flash, and I don't know what the deal is, but like I said, I whether it's a movie or HBO Max, I do want Affleck to do it. The only reason he didn't do it is because he went to rehab, took care of his life. But it's like, if he's healthy and can direct it, the guy's a fucking Academy Award winning director. It's like,
yeah.
I want to see him make a Batman project. I always want to. And like, luckily he is a good Batman, and I love him as Batman. But I always want to see him direct Batman more than act it. So it's like, if he's this good at the performance and he can direct, like, I just want to see it. And that script's supposedly already written, and people say it's great. So it's like, let's do it. But I love that was all back in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, just piggybacking on the Bat flick praise. There's so many moments in here that, like, whether he was in the suit or not, I'm like, man, like, I don't know why I was so doubtful on him. Like, I remember when he was originally casted, like, years ago. I'm like, I just can't see it. Like, I picture him in like Good Will
Mm-hmm.
Hunting or something, just like those like old Boston accent movies that he would always do. And like, I've always liked him, but just pairing up with the Batman thing, it was hard for me to digest. But now looking back on it, I'm like, man, was I wrong? Like, I was so impressed by. I mean, all the characters were great in this, but him specifically. And then just one last thing on the epilogue.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, for one, it's the nightmare, so it's just like terrifying everywhere you go. But like the fact that Superman is just in the air hunting you constantly, like that is such a terrifying idea. And then it's like, he found us, and he just drops down. It's like, what do you do?
Well, it was so great because
Jesus.
Cyborg says that, and then you hear the like that sound barrier break thing that he does
Yeah.
every time Superman flies. It's like, he found us, and you hear the and it's just like, yeah, it
Oh.
literally is like, all these people are like, they're posing with their tridents and stuff like that, but it's just like, yeah, like, what the fuck is Jared Leto's Joker gonna do against Superman? Like, what do we got going on here? And but it's the same thing. Like, I want to see that scene. Like, I guarantee you,
Totally.
Batman has a fucking like kryptonite grenade. He tosses it and they run. But it's just like,
Classic, yeah.
I love that. Like, it really was that a post-apocalyptic of the paradigms are looking for him. They're literally just hiding under cars, and it's like these heroes. Bruce Wayne, this billionaire, is like rocking this dusty, dirty ass trench coat, which people, Zack Snyder's kind of insinuated that's Jim Gordon's trench coat, the same one he wears in this movie. So it's like he got it off a dead Jim Gordon. So little stuff like that is really cool. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
it feels like The Walking Dead or something, where these guys are on like their last legs, and it's like that thing. It's only these 7 left, and it's like, what does 7 have left against Superman? And 3 of those people are just human, So
No, 100%. Like, you don't got Diana. You don't
Nope.
got the God to come help you. No, I do want more.
mm-hmm.
Shall we
yeah.
talk about the rest of the movie?
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say on Affleck, because I know we'll talk about him, because I feel like he is stepped back a little bit in this role because he's like getting the team together. But what you can tell from this, opposed to the 2017 one, I had mentioned in our original review when we did the commentary track, because those were the reshoots, and that was at a time in his life where like his life was hell. You could tell like his acting wise, he just didn't want to be there. He hated, like, it to me. It just looked like he had this same expression all the time. Where this movie is like BVS, where it seems like he's like locked in, ready to go. And I like that he's on this like suicide mission the whole time, where he's kind of like, the redemption is like he just wanted to put the league together, and he's all like, yeah, I'm gonna go die, like, whatever happens in the Batmobile, don't follow me. And then they save him, like the theatrical cut. But the whole movie, I think they kind of put that forward a bit more, of like him talking to Alfred about having faith, instead of, you look at BVS, like he literally says the line of, if there's a 1% chance that Superman's bad, we have to take it as absolute certainty, to go to this guy where he is like, okay, that didn't work out, so I'm just gonna try and have faith. And you still get like kind of an asshole Batman, like at moments when Aquaman is like, I don't know if we should bring Superman back. He's like, no, we're doing it. Like, I don't care what the fuck you say. Like, so I like that he was being that like team player, but when it had to, have that Batman darkness brooding, he would pop out. And yeah, I think he did good, and I'm always happy to see more Batflick.
Something else that I felt like they did a really good job for him in particular, as opposed to just other interpretations that I've seen him on screen, is they did a really good job at emphasizing that, like, this is him 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
like as bad, like he's pretty much like ready to just be retired, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
like he's ready to just do that suicide mission, but I felt like he was an old grizzled Batman. Like he's done everything. He's saved the city countless times, and like he's just exhausted. And this is like his final hurrah project. But I thought they did that so well.
Mm. You guys got anything to add on Batflick?
I feel like this movie is obviously got so much going on and so much hype behind it that, like we started talking about um, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yep.
And like you talked, and then Kirklin talked, and then before me and Taylor even got to say anything, it switched to Batman.
Well, the
Like
floor is yours too to talk about what me and Kirk talked about the past 15 minutes.
I'm going to jump back to Jesse Eisenberg because
Mhm.
when he was first announced back in 2016 or whatever it would have been, didn't you shit all over him, Travis?
I did. I didn't think it was a good casting, and I was right because in BVS I still don't think it's a good. It's not even that. I think he does good acting wise. I just don't like. I don't like what they wrote him, especially seeing what he did on the boat scene. I'm like, well, right there, it's like that's what I want a bit more of, not of like it's a pterodactyl and whatever he's doing. Like him and Jared Leto together is just a deadly combo.
I like Jesse Eisenberg, and I don't really remember him in BVS. I didn't go back and rewatch it, so I feel no need to. I like him as an actor, and I think that he did well, kind of being that calm and collected. And I feel like he did do the kind of sprinkling of, oh, you want to see more of this. He's like, oh, I can't die right now. I've got too many other projects on the go, or too many things I want to do, or whatever it was. And it's kind of like, I feel like he did a good job, just with that couple of minutes. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with what he was given, but I do find that kind of nice to see him not crazy.
Yeah.
Did you have anything you want to add on the Deathstroke Jesse Eisenberg thing, Taylor, before we switch to Batman?
I don't have too much to add on Jesse Eisenberg. I thought it was cool seeing him when Superman's howls were going off, and you see him in the Kryptonian ship, watching the hologram like Steppenwolf and the mother boxes. I thought that was kind of cool. And yeah, again, like I thought that the dialogue that he says about Bruce Wayne being Batman was different. I couldn't remember exactly his whole conversation until you guys like jogged my memory, but I like that end scene when you see Deathstroke stroll up and talk to him. I really liked how Deathstroke looks. He just looks so cool in his gear. So yeah.
His walk up in slow mo.
Travis, you mentioned that you feel better about Jesse Eisenberg after this. I do not. I still don't like it. Yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I need more to win me over. Like I think I like this, like him on screen more than like the last movie, but
you need more. So you need like a standalone Lex Luthor movie, is what you're saying?
I mean, just more scenes than what we got in like his epilogue. That was the epilogue, right?
Yeah,
that was in the epilogue. Yeah, the poor guy. If you think of BVS in this, the amount of screen time he's actually been bald for, like what he had to shave his head. It's like he's on screen for like 5 minutes being bald, and he shaved it. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know why they even gave him hair
Maybe
in the
just
first
liked
movie.
it for convenience sake. He's like, I kind of like it.
Yeah, maybe.
I liked his lines, and that line that you did shout out, Jessica. Like I can't die right now. Like I got too many things going on, and like he just felt more business oriented as opposed to like what Travis was saying, like sporadic. So I guess that is a bit of a step up for me, but I don't know. It's hard for me to compare to him from the Lex Luthor that I know true and dear to my heart.
When you say the Lex Luthor, who are you thinking of?
The Lex Luthor from the Christopher Reeve film.
Gene Hackman.
Hackman, yes.
Yeah, you had Hackman. You had Kevin Spacey, and then the animated one too has a lot of love too from the Justice League animated show that went on for like, I think 3 or 4 seasons. But he was also in the Superman one too. Lots of people use that as like their obviously comics as well. But I'm saying for other media, those are kind of the 3 and stuff like that. Obviously, no one talks about Spacey anymore.
That's definitely. I don't think of any of those people. So
you think of Smallville, don't you?
I totally. Yeah, you can see it sitting.
Rosenbaum, yeah,
sitting right there.
He was great. He was a great Lex too. Like he was. So yeah, I. Well, if we get more of this world, you definitely will. I think see more of him. Because even just that line, it was in the theatrical, but I just love when he like takes a toast. He's like, "Oh, I'm just celebrating God's return." And he takes like a drink of like he just seems so like pissy and like rich boy, which that I kind of like. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. We do have something to celebrate. Oh, good boy. It's like, oh, okay, condescending asshole.
Yeah.
Batman. I still could care less if he is Batman or if it's a different actor. I'm sorry, guys. um, yeah, I don't even. Maybe Taylor should go first. Like I'm thinking, I can't think of any like big standout scenes that were different in this one that were different from John's. That I'm sure there are, but to me, there's nothing that immediately comes to mind as, oh my God, I'm so happy that they added this scene with him and he was so much better in this. And
I feel like they definitely added a bit more flirtiness with him and Wonder Woman, which I love because those two
Yeah.
need to fuck. We
Oh,
need to
yeah.
get it on. Like when they reach for the mouse and everything, they hinted at that a little in BVS, and then in the theatrical they just kind of dropped it. So I like that that's back. Like I like they're always kind of like flirting and just like I loved Alfred and Wonder Woman's like little tea
Yes.
making scene.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but that's not Batman. Come
No, I
on.
know, but I mean, like, I'm like in the lore and stuff, but there was that, and I think, like I said, the stuff that probably wasn't as grandiose, but he talked a lot more about being faithful and, like, this is what I have to do. It's not about me. I got to put this team together. So, but I agree, nothing too major. I did really like the face down of when Superman's just mowing through Justice League to get to Batman. I like that they're all just playing like Doctor Dodgeball, and Batman's the doctor in the back, and they're just like protecting him. Like he's literally just standing there, and like Superman's like giving these people concussions, but Batman's just like, go get him, and yeah.
He
So
wasn't on screen yet, right? I was waiting for him to appear. I think like after he was just smacking them around, then Ben Affleck came around like behind the car, and
yeah,
then he
but then
locked
what
eyes with
happened?
them.
Yeah, but then when he's walking to him, all the characters try to stop him again, and he just like takes care of
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
league.
No,
So
that's true.
again, Batman's just like, go
He's
ahead.
the leader. Come on.
Yeah,
Protect the
yeah,
leader.
you gotta fall for the leader. Yeah. So Taylor, I'm gonna ask you what you thought about Batman after this ad break, and we're back. So Taylor, how was Batfleck for you?
Well, I'm inclined to agree with what you said. Like, it's not necessarily a huge amount of additional scenes with him. It was just his presence and the atmosphere that was surrounding him. Like, you could feel like he was putting his heart and soul, at least I'm gonna say, like into this role more than the other one. Like he was there and he was delivering and he felt more genuine in his acting and his portrayal of Bruce Wayne, which I really liked. Um, yeah, like his scenes were great. I loved his chemistry with Diana. I loved a lot of the chemistry he had with the other characters, and some of the humorous stuff that they did keep. I didn't mind, and he additional jokes and stuff like that. I liked, yeah, so much of his interaction was just awesome, and it just goes hand in hand with like with the epilogue and the other scenes. I liked how the film started off with him going off to find Arthur Curry. Like it felt great. He felt like, obviously he's a main character of Justice League, but he was just like this pillar throughout this whole film, and I'm just glad that he was like a consistent pillar for the other characters' developments and stuff like that. So
You didn't miss the opening of Superman on the phone. You didn't miss that opening of and he has the mustache. But no, I that's the other thing I was gonna say is like for me, I think Batman can joke, but he has like a limited amounts, and I love that like all that stuff was the stuff that I really hated in the theatrical cut was gone. The like something's bleeding or the you talk to fish, like all that shit was like done. But then like I was so happy these were Zach lines, the two when he's like, "What's your superpower? I'm rich." I love that one, and the like, "How did you get the house back?" The bank bought, and he goes, "Oh, I bought the bank." I was so happy that was a Zach line because those are ones I really liked, and that's a good thing for a majority. Like stuff that was missing, there's not really anything in particular. Like I have maybe a few things, but there's nothing big that I was like, oh, they really should have kept that. So I was happy that even the theatrical, the stuff that I did like a lot was his. But I think that's another thing with Batman didn't seem so, I think, useless in this cut and humorful. So I like that. So
So when he was looking for Aquaman for a second there, I thought he was looking for Raj Al Ghul.
mhm.
It was looking so like similar to that scene from Batman Begins.
Well, it's interesting because in that Zack Snyder museum that went up from the last time we talked, someone got a shot of the Deathstroke armor, and it has a dragon on it, which is the sign of Ra's al Ghul. So, and it's very interesting because, like, when Lex asks him, like, "What's your problem?" Like, an eye for an eye, and he says that's something personal. So it's just like, Oh man, like, are we somewhere in a world where Bruce Wayne has a son out there? Because what happens is Bruce Wayne has a son with Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and it's just like I would assume if Deathstroke's trained by the League of Assassins, League of Shadows, it's like already I'm headcanon like all this history and everything like that. So, and like you point out, Kirkland, I was thrilled that Aquaman's stupid fucking jump into the water was gone.
I was waiting for it when he was getting close to the water. I'm like, it's coming up. It's totally in this film.
I was, because I'm like, what is this? Because there's like this thing, and I don't even hate it that much, but in the fight with Superman, one thing that got memed a lot is the part where Wonder Woman goes like, Kal-El, no. And for years, everyone dunked on that scene and thought it was a Whedon scene until this past week we're like, oh no, that's a Snyder scene. So I was like, fuck, is the water, him jumping in the water, going to be a Snyder scene? It wasn't, so I was happy. It still was a weird scene because those women singing randomly,
Yeah,
I wasn't
that
really
really
Like
pulled
grabbed
me
his
out.
grabbed his cardigan, was just like rubbing it in his face.
rip it for pieces, like there's a couple things like that I didn't like, and I still don't like the opening of Diana with the bank and the bad guys and the kids. I
Yeah.
really love the ending of that scene with the little girls, and she's like, I want to be like you one day, and she's like, oh, you can be anything. I love that part, but just the actual like action and part of that, it felt clunky in the theatrical, and it still feels here. It's just the scene overall, it just I don't know, it just feels like rushed. I don't know what go
I
ahead.
think it was too long, personally.
Yeah, too, yeah.
I think it was just drawn out. I mean, this is a long movie, but I felt like that in particular scene. And again, like that's kind of the beginning stages of the film that I felt were kind of sluggish for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a lot of scenes that we kind of already saw in the theatrical, so maybe that's why.
Part one is the most like theatrical. Like it's
Yeah.
different. It's different scenes, like shot wise and angles and dialogue. But like the chronological order of way they happen, part one and even part two, very similar to theatrical. So I agree there.
Yeah, and yeah, but that scene, I did think it looked a little clunky, that's for sure.
And she got like a new, because we have a new, not new, but Junkie XL did the whole score. Hans did Man of Steel, and then Hans and Junkie did this together, or BVS together, and then Junkie did this on his own. So I liked his like. He had like a very even more guitar riff for the Wonder Woman theme. I liked the themes.
I really liked the theme.
I liked the
Wonder
themes
Woman
later
theme.
on Themyscira when it was like the medieval one and stuff like that. Or I can't remember, like there was another. Oh, there's one that was just like drums for the theme. I really like that. I didn't know how I felt about the like the.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't think I liked that. The women's choir for it. It was just a little too much for me. But the rest of the Wonder Woman stuff I really liked.
I was afraid, like, again, that intro robbery scene that Wonder Woman had, when she came to the doors and it was doing that, like,
Yeah.
it really upset me, and I looked at Madison like, oh, I really liked when it was her theme in there, and then it cued into that, like, not the exact same theme. It felt like they remixed it a little bit, and I
definitely
really
did.
liked it.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, I still love when she just bursts down those doors too. Just so, just bringing the heat. Yeah.
And I still always wonder though, like when that guy's shooting at all those people and he goes like from left to right, like what happens if he were just to change direction just a second? Because she's so like full momentum going to the right. So it's like if he were to just stop for a second. So yeah, there's just stuff in that scene. I just felt like when they're writing it, be like, we need Diana to have like a quick adventure here, and what do we got? And this was the best. Like, it's better than the theatrical. Like, I hated the fucking Batman with the criminal thing. I'm glad that was not a Zack thing. We knew it wasn't, but like, I hate that like the criminals jump around like, what are these aliens? It's just like it's so fucking like cheesy and whatnot. So I still prefer this, but it's nothing spectacular. This scene.
So I just want to point out like one humorous kind of thing. So I realized like, okay, we have like several scenes of Aquaman saving people, and it was like we had the first one, and then we had like the second one, and then
we had the first one and the second one.
we had the first one and the second
then
one,
the
and
third.
Did we have a third?
Well, this is the thing that I laughed at, because we had the third. This third scene, and we see like a bunch of people being dragged out of the water. I look at Madison like, holy shit, we're getting a third Aquaman saving scene. I was like, oh no, it's the parademons that are like gonna kill the Atlanteans.
Yeah, not the way you're gonna go. Like, and that's the stuff where I agree. So that's where I was talking about. Like, of course, this was gonna not of course, but like the way this would be better than theatrical is just because like he gets more time, right? And I think that there's tons of stuff. Like we'll get into a Superman, but like why did they reshoot any of that shit with him with Lois? Like all the stuff in this movie with him and his mom and Lois was good. It all worked really as well. So like, why did they even waste the fucking money to go back and shoot? Like, I guess the only thing is like those scenes with Superman are a bit more somber and they're a bit more slower. But it's like that's fine. But like where you could have cut time, this could never have been a 4-hour movie. I think you could have got it down to at least just an over 3-hour movie, because like there's that scene where Aquaman comes in, he saves the guy, puts him on the bars in theatrical, and then he walks into the water. It's very cool shots, but you could make it quicker. That's the thing.
There
where
is
it's
at
just, like,
least 30 seconds, I feel like, of him standing at the end of the pier in slow-mo water.
yeah, and that's where it's like I know that Zach loves that. He's done that his whole career. Like, look, that's why Watchmen's 5 hours, that ultimate cut. But it's just like definitely, I think they could have found, and that's what they should have done back in the day. But they could have found, because they had said to Zach like, we need this movie to be 2 hours. That's why some people should be thankful this happened as far as the Snyder cut, because the 2-hour version of this would have still sucked, even if it was all Zack Snyder stuff. It would have been better. It would have been better than the theatrical one that I think we got with Whedon, because it wouldn't have been two mixed visions. But it's like what he wanted to do, you couldn't get down to 2 hours. 3 hours, I could see it. You could cut some scenes and whatnot, but like the stuff we're gonna get into all, but
Yeah.
like the stuff with Steppenwolf and Cyborg was great stuff. Like especially Steppenwolf, I was surprised because I'd heard some people say like, oh yeah, they do a really good job, and I was still like, from the trailers, he does just still look like a heavy though. You know, like I really want to be sold, and even I feel for part 1 and 2, it's just like he's just there fucking people up. It's cool. He looks a lot better. Like he looks.
Oh.
Seeing it on screen, he looked 1,000 times better than whatever that fucking thing we got in the theatrical. But when we learn this like little backstory of like Darkseid's like excommunicated him from the group and like disowned him, and like this is the line, he's like, you owed me 50,000 worlds. It's like what a fucking debt that is. Like
Yeah.
I like it sucks if you owe someone $5. He owed Darkseid 50,000 worlds, and I loved that natural progression of he's just like, yeah, of course he's kind of like a left hand, like trying to just do good or do bad for Darkseid, but it's just like he had his own little arc of like he was excommunicated and he's trying to work his way back in, and I liked it.
You know, I loved him in this film. Honestly, like I was okay with him being mostly just the heavy, like fierce warrior dude. Like all of his like just battle effects I thought looked so much better. I mean, it helps. His armor was so cool.
Oh
I
yeah,
love that like
purple tint.
that purple tint. Oh my gosh. And I loved when he would just get pissed, almost like a puffer fish. He would just like the blades would go out. It was such a cool armor set, and I loved his weapon too. I loved how like every time he grabbed it, it was just like the electricity would kind of build up, and like it just he was just such a ferocious, I don't know, specimen. It makes me want to just become more familiar with the DC universe, which again, it's kind of a running theme of this whole movie for me at least, is like I'm just so like ecstatic with it, because like I was ready to jump ship after that last Justice League movie. I'm like, like DC will have to they'll have to figure something out before I get interested in their stuff again. Like maybe I'll watch their one-off films, obviously like Robert Pattinson's Batman stuff I'll watch, but like I'm just not interested in this type of universe. But my whole just perception on it has completely shifted, and it's flabbergasting me. But anyways, getting back to Steppenwolf, I loved who was that individual he was talking to, like that was on like the slab?
Desaad. I fucking loved his voice. Desaad, like the guy
Yeah.
who's like
Yeah.
Darkseid's right hand man. Yeah, I gotta find out who the actor was. I forgot to look, but like I loved his voice so much.
And I love like the effect of when like that slab would turn into either him or Darkseid. It's just like almost like lava just like dripping. Oh, I just thought that looked so cool. And when Steppenwolf's almost just like come on guys, like throw me a bone, like I'm doing all these things, like
Throw
I,
me a
I'm
thick and bone.
like I'm just yeah, like I just want to pay off my debt. Like I don't know, like you can kind of feel bad for the guy that he's like being forced to do all these things. I don't know. It's hard
Yeah,
to.
he's like, I have all the mother boxes, but they're like, yeah, but what about the anti-life equation? And it's
Yeah,
like, oh well,
exactly.
fuck, man,
Like,
I
you
got you
ain't
all these
shit.
mother boxes. Yeah,
Totally. And just on that same like scenery of him being, what's that area even called? I guess like the mother box throne room, like the egg thing that he makes. Just
Well, I think he
their
just
home base, I guess.
yeah, like where Steppenwolf was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just took over a nuclear plant and just made it. I
Right.
can't remember. He did
There's
say
no
some
no
sort
trap
of
family in there.
no. Thank God, no fucking Russian family.
Yeah,
Like,
the poor family. They were so hyped that they got casted in the movie and then axed.
And imagine too,
Um,
like anytime if someone versus the Russian family, you're on Twitter, you're like, fuck, that's me. Like I'm the part of the Russian family. I had heard that before when the reviews dropped, but like just having not to cut to the Russian family for random fucking 15-minute segments was just so nice. Like
yeah.
not needed.
Um, yeah, but just getting back to that throne room scene, when it shifted to like dark side kind of like taking over the camera, and like
Mm-hmm.
all the parademons like as a group just kind of like felt his presence, and then when Steppenwolf like realized who it was and his armor just like shot off of him, like
Oh
almost
yeah.
like he didn't do it on purpose, it was just like a reactionary thing. I just thought that was so well done because there's something that I was kind of shitting on with Darkseid, over the trailers. I'm like, he just looks like a mini boss. Like, he doesn't look menacing or anything. That one scene alone, like, he just brought like the gravitas to that situation. He wasn't even there. Like, the
Yeah.
fact that he was just
Uh,
like a projector, and like Steppenwolf, who to this point has like literally just dismantled all the Amazonians, just like shit on all these characters that we think are so powerful. Um, and the fact that Darkseid just like appearing just like made him look like a little shrimp. Like
Puts the fear in them.
I thought that was such a well done scene, and I just loved all that stuff with the slab.
And I
between oh
oh
sorry,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Between Steppenwolf and Darkseid. So again, I agree with you. Like, I think Steppenwolf was awesome in this movie. Again, when
His
he
uncle.
was when he was going ahead and getting the
It's so
mother
weird.
box from Themyscira, and the Amazons were taking him down on the outside, like on the plains. I was looking at Matt's like, well, they're doing a pretty good job at taking him down. And then he just flexes the arrows off and starts decapitating. I'm like, okay, I retract my statement. But as far as terms of like being badass goes, I feel like the intro where we got to see uh dark side, it all this hype, and all I've seen are people saying Darkseid will mop the floor with Thanos, he's so OP, and I see him in this movie and I think, wow, he is probably like one of the lower tier villains in terms
Mini
of like
boss, yeah.
like I feel like Abomination could kick his ass. I feel like so many of these MCU villains, I feel like at this point, like, I don't know how, but I'm probably get shout out for this. I feel like Jared Leto's Joker could whip out some fancy
Okay.
trinket and just
Oh, you're gonna get shit on
Fancy
for that.
trinket.
but that being said, like
Okay.
in the terms of Darkseid versus Steppenwolf, I felt way more fear coming from Steppenwolf as a villain than I did Darkseid. Like again, Darkseid got his ass handed to him, and that whole intro scene, like he passed out on the floor bleeding out,
Okay.
and it was dragged
So-
away.
So let me say one thing perfectly clear. Hang on, let me get some blue here. I got blue for Darkseid. There we go. So, I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. That
That
I
doesn't
think,
happen much.
as far as flaws go, that is a flaw for me in this film. That Snyder has said before that Darkseid in that flashback is, and that's why he doesn't have the armor. And if you look, he is like smaller in frame compared to where he is at the end of the film. It's supposed to be a younger Darkseid. So I think what he's trying to propose is like he's a less experienced Darkseid. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
conqueror, but he's still young. He's not experienced. I think you still could have showed that in a different way other than him fucking being on death's door. Like they're literally dragging him on the ship and like his neck is bleeding, he's passing out, and I was in shock of like and like of course it's like there's Green Lanterns, there's Amazonian, there's Aquaman, there's Atlantis, there's Ares, there's Zeus. I get it, but it was still like I wish they would have found a different way to just end the battle and him get separated, even do some damage to him. But he looked like he was down to go. But
Well,
I do
that's
think if
what
we got
Whedon did, right? Like, I think at least in his version, he made it better, where it looked like they were just pulling him back from like just to like accept your defeat. Like he wasn't injured or anything.
Well, no, in Whedon's remember in Whedon's they just cut out Darkseid
Yeah, he
completely.
wasn't
It was
even in the
just
film.
was it
in,
Steppenwolf being dragged
it was
away?
Steppenwolf.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. They replaced him. They CGI. They completely CGI Darkseid out of that scene, and just replaced him with the terrible looking Steppenwolf. So Darkseid, there's one mention in it, and that's it. So. Like same thing, yeah. They dragged him away. I don't know. Like I do think that is a little bit better. I think they didn't have to make it. It obviously wasn't definitive because he still survived, and I do think, like I said, if we get a sequel, the first time we see Darkseid, he'll fuck a bunch of people up because now he has like the big armor. He is like actual bigger in stature. So I think that's what he was trying to. I think
Yeah.
he just could have wrote that a bit better to show like he was more inexperienced in this battle, and that's why he lost. Maybe he was too. I think he was too cocky and arrogant. You know.
So to defend my new boy Darkseid,
Oh,
I'm now all like Team
Now,
Darkseid.
Yeah.
Go talk to me a week ago. So the way I took that scene was, yes, I did kind of see him as just like a younger, less experienced individual.
Mhm.
I mean, just in history alone, like who were the humans there? That was like medieval ages, wasn't it? Like that was
Yeah, yeah.
Genghis
still,
Khan, a couple other
yes.
dudes.
And so like for one, less experience and like probably cocky, like all these things that Travis mentioned, but also like Ares, and it's so funny because in this scene it was so similar to when Thor like stabs Thanos, and I'm just like, man, why didn't you go for the head, like the exact same spot where
Mhm.
Thor got him? But
And that was
um,
Ares from the Wonder Woman film as well. The villain, it was the same actor,
Oh,
David
I like it.
Flewis,
That's
who
cool.
plays Lupin in Harry Potter. That was him. I think it was just his face CGI'd onto an actor, but still, before he put the helmet on, you could see it was the same actor from Wonder Woman. So fun little
hmm.
connective tissue there.
Yeah, and then like Ares, like he's essentially a god, right? Like is
Yeah,
that
God
are
of
those
War.
the old gods that they
Yeah.
were talking about? So like right then and there, like when Steppenwolf faced Diana, he was like, holy shit, like you're
You're
different than
powerful.
the other ones. Like
Hmm.
you have the blood of the old gods, so like almost a little bit intimidated just by the fact that she shares that blood. Now, like I'm assuming like someone like Ares, who is an actual old god, like is so much stronger than probably most of the Justice League members that we saw.
Not Batman though.
Not bad. Well, yeah, he wasn't even born yet. But anyways,
He was training in the womb.
so I mean, I kind of lent it there that I felt just the power of like the good forces in that battle, especially because they're all fighting together for like one
Yeah.
united goal. So it didn't bug me too much actually when Darkseid just got murked there. And it's funny too, because even early in the film, I had those preconceived notions of like, oh, Darkseid's just a mini boss. Like, what is this? And you totally just reminded me because they don't talk about it in the film. So Steppenwolf is his uncle.
Yeah, that's a flex. Hey,
I
when you're bowing
fucking,
down to your nephew, that's a fucking huge flex. Like he was
I
born
don't think I
after
like
you.
that.
I don't think I like that. I think I like that just to show like that's how powerful Darkseid is and scary is the fact
Yeah.
that yeah he's younger than Steppenwolf in like the canon in the comics, but it's like that's how scary. Well, sometimes that's not the case with uncle and nephew, but I think that's supposed to be the way it's like yeah this is my nephew, but like yeah, I'm even fucking scared of this dude. Like he
Yeah.
kicked us out of the family business and I'm his uncle. You know.
No, 100%. And like all in all, I think I was kind of expecting to see more of Darkseid.
Hmm.
Um, again, if we're trying to, pitch to Warner Brothers for a sequel, I think it
Oh,
was
we are.
actually really clever the way they showed him. Like when they showed him in that portal and it looked like he was in like some sort of monastery, almost like a Diablo type setting. I thought
Oh
that
yeah.
was so fucking cool with like the stained glass in the background and just like the ominous like red glow that's kind of like
Fire
symbolic to
everywhere.
hell. Yeah, totally. Especially like his minions are parademons. Like there's just so many symbolisms to just like this is literally the devil. Like he is
Hmm.
the apocalypse is coming. I thought
Mephisto? He was Mephisto?
not Mephisto, yeah. um I loved what I saw and what I got from Darkseid, and like that scene I mentioned earlier when he does like just the projection comes in, like I was intimidated on my couch. I'm like, holy shit, this
Great
guy.
voice too.
Yeah.
Ray Porter's the guy who did his voice. I think I told you guys this last newscast, but he was the guy that was cast as Darkseid and couldn't talk about for like 3 years because he had an NDA. So like for
Oh,
every once in a while, he would just tweet out a picture of him holding a Darkseid toy, saying nothing but just like having lots of hints to it. So it's happy that he got to actually got the like the stuff he recorded got to come out
yeah,
and like great voice because it's just like and it's
totally.
the same people like I said that animated Thanos and I think he looked great in his own way and that's because it is that thing of like you have Thanos, Apocalypse, and Darkseid. It's very tough. They're like all big guys that wear blue, so it's like you have to distinguish them. And I think they did a good job of. I was always worried, like, okay, I've read comics. I know Darkseid is different, but you gotta do that on screen too, so you don't just think it's just
Yeah.
Thanos light. And I think they did that because, like I said, like even you comparing him to like the Devil, I don't think of Thanos in that way. I think of him more as a
No,
warrior,
yeah.
where like sure like Darkseid has warriors, but I think of him more like Lord of the Rings, like a Sauron point of thing, where he is like an army leader or like a world leader. Where Thanos is like he's just an agent of war. It's like it's different distinctions, but I just feel like Thanos is on the battlefield where Darkseid's standing back, telling everyone to go. You know, because
Right.
last time he was on the battlefield, he got fucked up, so he's not doing that anymore. He's retired from battle. But no, like, but and even then in Cyborg's little vision, they showed him like that laser beams. I'm not sure if you remember it, but
That
when
was
he killed
cool.
Arthur, yeah, that's like a classic comic book thing where his laser beams like go different directions. But they did show in the future that he will kill all these like Justice League members. So if
Yeah.
that bad version happens, it shows okay,
Oh,
yeah, he did get fucking super strong and want to create chaos and destroy
that's
stuff.
you already talked about it, but like when Clark is holding like the dead Lois, and then Darkseid just comes up to him and just like grabs on the shoulder, like it's time, like it's time for you to do the dirty. I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, man, like I don't want to see this happen because it's so bad, but part of me kind of does,
Well, and
Oh,
that's the difference with like again with Thanos and Darkseid. Thanos is like a strategic battle person, where Darkseid is that person who's like, hey, you should like Thanos might be like join me, but not really. He's just like, I'm by myself. I have my goal. Darkseid's all about recruiting, and it's like, why should he fight Superman if he could like recruit Superman and be working with him? Like that's what he's thinking like 10 steps ahead. So yeah, that was a really chilling scene of him just putting his hand on it. It's just the same thing. Like I do want to see like, okay, how the fuck did Lois get burned up to like a crisp like this? Like, and obviously it's like he blames Batman for it. It's like, so what went down? And yeah, Jessica, what did you think about the villains? We were talking about Steppenwolf and Darkseid.
So I'm gonna backtrack a bit because you guys kind of talked about the intro, or like the intro with the Amazons and everything like that. I will say that this scene bugged me right off the bat because, well, all in all, it's a great scene, and it was way better than what was originally done in the 2017 cut. The is Diana's mom? Is that who it was?
Hippolyta, yeah.
Like, just she's got this box, and like her friend gets stabbed, and she's like, oh, I gotta stop and talk to her, and then oh no, just leave. And then so she's running, and someone else gets stabbed. Oh, I gotta stop again, and the walls are coming down. It's just like,
I had the same thoughts. Yeah,
I'm like, just fucking leave.
It's like Shorty in Scary Movie when he's like, "Run, bitch, run!" Like that's the same way. It's like these women are saying they're gonna sacrifice themselves for you. You better get that fucking box out of there.
She stopped for every casualty and like said their rights and like passed them off to the next world.
Their rights.
And like the last people, they're holding up this wall, and then they jump inside the collapsing thing. I'm like, you're holding up the wall. Why you not just hop on the other side and help out?
I thought they're gonna get crushed. I thought it was gonna be gruesome, just like jellifying of those two.
Rated R version of
that's what I'm expecting.
Benny from the Mummy. And how deflating is that for they lock this up, the whole thing falls in the water, and then Steppenwolf and his boys just pop up 30 seconds later. It was all for naught,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that aside, I definitely like this intro better. I think there was more to it. And it definitely, kind of like Kirklin said, showed, the flex when all the arrows like busted out of them. And, they do the slingshot with the arrow and the cube. And they're just like, okay, yeah. Like, and then all of a sudden he just jumps and he's there.
Yeah.
Picks up the horse and just flipping tosses it.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's some really fun scenes, and it just kind of really showed that he was not playing around. Like it wasn't, okay, well, I'll get him next time. It was like, I'm just going to kill everyone to get what I want. So I think it was a better kind of expanded entrance that really kind of showed the difference between how the two movies were starting. I'm trying to, like, I don't think the Darkseid, like, origin story piece that you guys must be talking about really made all that much of an impression. Kind of like, Kirklin was saying, wasn't big and scary and didn't feel intimidated by him, because
I've changed my tune on that. Let the record be known.
I don't necessarily remember him. I remember the warlocks like chanting and putting the cubes together and things like that. So I
did the scenes we get of him like intrigue you to see more of that character? Because he's very much like they're leaving it as like this big bad, like, oh, he's down the line gonna do a bunch of stuff. Like obviously after that battle scene, we just get a few scenes of him looking at stuff, giving some dialogue. Were you intrigued, or do you still need to see more to get you invested in like this baddie?
I feel like, I didn't think I would say this going into this movie, but I feel like I need to watch it again to kind of get everything.
Hell yeah.
Hell yes.
4 hours. I'll be honest, there was definitely some times where I pulled on my phone. I was like, I'm gonna just kind of take a break from this, and I just let it keep playing in the background because we had a deadline to make for the podcast.
With the parts, you could watch it as a series like it was planned. You could literally watch the part one, stop, and then come back to it later.
Yeah, and I do have a point to bring up about that later, but we're talking about this right now. So, I do feel like there was some, the part where he steps on, I guess his uncle's head.
Yep.
you know, I feel like that was just kind of like, okay, you know, you don't give two shits,
No,
you
no.
know. So that's kind of a piece that kind of makes you wonder just how brutal exactly he's gonna be, and like you said, kind of that dark Superman coming into, you know, creating that partnership. So there is some interest, but I, I I feel like by the time we really got to where things were happening with him, I was at the point where I was like, I need a break. And I probably didn't watch as much as I should have just because, like I said, we had deadline to run, you know, however early
Yeah.
in the morning it is. And I, you know, such is the life of the Geekverse.
It's a
Mhm.
marathon, not a sprint, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I will say I loved like, and this is tying with what happened later on because the scene where they bring Superman back was pretty similar to what we got in the theatrical. But what I loved that completely took out the theatrical, and I got goosebumps, was when Flash was running and that little inkling of him knowing he can turn back time, which later on we get revealed that he knew that the whole time. But at first I thought it was the first time he was realizing that, where the box and everything is falling and it starts to rise up instead of
Yeah.
fall down. I got goosebumps. I was like, "Oh my god, the
Yeah, me
Flash is
too.
going through time. This is fucking cool." So I really loved that, like that fake out ending of like Cyborg's like, "We're too late," and Darkseid's portal just opens up and they just fucking annihilate planet Earth. And I love that, just this shot of Barry running like away from the destruction, and then eventually he outruns it so fast where he's like running with it to turn back the time, and all this stuff is like folding on itself. I really liked the twist
Oh,
of doing that, but I liked the just the visuals of it, and
yeah.
it was cool, and also because the Flash movie is going to be about that. He's going to
Hey,
run into different multiverses and stuff.
before we
Mhm.
get to that, did Taylor get a chance to talk about this? What this
Mhm.
you did
He
talk
did. You
about
were
Dark
gone.
Side
You
and
were gone.
everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
You can add more to it if you want to, but just that tying of like, I love the portal opening. I love the chopping. That's something that's been known for years. The chopping the head off, like the meat skewer and stuff like that. Batman had to get like one last fucking judo kick in there, just so funny. But like, so like,
The Barry Allen the time piece. So he
mhm.
does say, you know, he's like, oh, weird things start to happen with time when I start going too fast. Like he
Yeah.
does really, he hints that he knows that something's gonna happen if he starts
Yeah.
going that
I
Yeah.
felt like
fast.
it was like he had a past experience that kind of was doing that, and he's like, "Oh, this is dangerous," and then that's where he made his own rules for himself.
Yeah, and like he said when he was running, he's like, "Oh, I told myself never to do this." Where the
Yeah.
Flash movie should be, because it's gonna be about Flashpoint. That storyline is he's gonna go back in the past and try to save his mom from dying. So the fact that it's good, like that's what I hate in the Justice League movie. They take all that out, but this makes like you put in the fucking Russian family, but you take out these cool set pieces, him like traveling through time. I don't fucking get it. That's sometimes where like what happened here, and just like especially because the Flash movie is gonna be about him time traveling and like going back to meet Michael Keaton and stuff like that. So it's just like, why the fuck wouldn't you keep this shit in? Like it's cool, and it was a cool twist to have the heroes die and then like him reverse it right
Yeah.
away. Like I don't know, but I loved all that. And I loved that time with Darkseid and the portal and everything, and good
Th-
stuff.
there's is this movie that you're talking about? Is this an Ezra Miller or is
Yeah,
this
that's the
okay?
Ezra Miller one where Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are both coming back, and he's gonna be traveling like different multiverses because he messes with time somehow. And the idea is probably like the comic books. He might go back to maybe save his mom because they just casted his mom too recently. I can't remember her name, but they just cast her last week. So that probably is the storyline of him going back to save his mom, and that kind of fucks everything up because don't mess with time or it messes back.
So then another kind of question, just sticking with Barry, you know, my boy with his meat snack.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I'm glad you have the end in
We're
there.
gonna get into that. Yeah,
Barry's meat sack.
I'm glad I
That's what I
didn't
read
forget
at
about
first.
that.
um, so that scene alone, it had its own questionable moments, like the hot dogs floating in the air, and he's just, you know, touching her face, and
I
the
did
hot
not
dogs
like
like
that.
I did
sitting
not
right
like that.
beside her.
That was fucking creepy.
That was so creepy.
I was so wrong when I was in the commentary track of telling you guys like, no, Snyder's Flash. He's not gonna joke around that much. He's pretty much the same character, and I think he's like a tad better because there was a few scenes where he wasn't jokey, where in the theatrical he's all jokey, but. I still am just not a fan of Ezra Miller as the Flash in this take. Because, yeah, that scene that you're describing with the face touching and, like, the hot dogs, just It doesn't do for. It feels like it's weird because it's so different, and he feels like an MCU character, and he doesn't fit because this world does not feel like the MCU. It feels like it's on to its own self, and he just never fucking shuts up with his jokes. So yeah, I'm still not a fan of
Mm,
him in this. I liked him a little bit more, but
yeah.
eh.
I
I love him. I don't know what
yeah.
you guys
You
are
and Taylor
talking
on the
about.
bandwagon. I get it. You guys were happy with it. Yeah, it's just he's just a little annoying.
Yeah, the
Before
last
we get off a topic, I want to ask what I was going to originally ask is what was the point of his love interest? Like I thought that this would circle back. Do you have an answer for that, Travis? Like cuz you in the commercials you're like, "Oh yeah, this is his love interest," and you pointed it out. And I thought there would be some bigger reason than this 5-minute scene.
So I'm gonna answer that after this ad break. We're back. No, it was just a fun cameo. I think that's like she's gonna be in the movie, so that's kind of setting her up as far as like the meeting. I guess it's a little bit different because if I feel if like most superhero movies, you have the love interest not knowing they're the hero, so she's gonna right away know he's the Flash. So I think that's something fun to play with. But I think this was just like Jim Gordon being in the Batman scene. It was just like let's throw like a cameo here, and that's why it's like it's a cool scene. But that is one you could cut, and that one I do understand because like it really has nothing more to do with the plot. Even though I like the effects of like his shoes tearing away and him running and Kirklin's shaking his head, but I like that. I actually did like some of his like they're no Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, but I like the blue lightning and stuff like that. But I don't think it's needed. I think it's just like fan service.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is Iris. You guys, it's his love interest.
I had no idea who she was. I mean, to an extent, I really like the effects of that scene. Like I liked when his shoes shot off. Shay was laughing. She's like, "This is so cheesy," and I'm like, "Nah, it's cool, man. He's running out of his shoes." Like, go on. Sometimes I feel like I do that. I run too fast. But and he like goes
And
through
then
the
she
glass.
laughed again.
And then she laughed again. So I did like that stuff. But as soon as they showed the fucking semi truck driver eating this burger, I'm like, how
Oh
many
yeah.
fucking times have I seen this scene in movies? I swear to God. I just like was playing
Reach it
Resident
down.
Evil 2. I don't know if anyone's played Resident Evil 2, but it starts because the guy's eating his burger and then he
Yes.
drops it and then he has to grab it and then he crashes and it's just like, holy shit, this is so like so
Tropey.
cliche. Yeah, it's such a trope. And then the super just weird touching of the face. And I mean, if you're well versed and you know that it's his love interest, like, okay, maybe you're okay with it. But for me, it just felt so weird. Um,
I was worried
I
when he had like he touched her face, then he grabbed the hot dog. Like,
oh,
what's he
I
gonna
thought
do?
I thought my
Like,
mind went
Oh my
sexual. I'm like, this is
God,
an R-rated
Taylor.
movie. Yeah, she's gonna shove it in her mouth or something. I don't know. But
She just gets say with a bunch of fucking hot dogs in her mouth. I I would have had a lot more problems with that scene if that would have happened. I think the internet would not be kind of Snyder if.
yeah, that
I
would
was
not
very
have been
relieved
good.
when he put it in his pocket.
Is that just a hot dog, or you happy to see me? Get away from me, you fucking creep!
So in the first Justice League, I was like, I kind of liked Ezra as Barry. I felt like the humor was like 40% hitting with me, whereas in this version,
That's high.
I think it was more like 60% of the humor like worked for me, and I really liked the stuff with Billy Crudup. I know we got some of that in the last film, but like near the end, like does that happen in the last film where he like actually gets the job and he's like has that like really cool moment with his dad?
That happens, but I think they took out the whole him yelling with the prison and being really excited. They
Okay,
like
Yeah.
took
yeah,
out
I
any
thought so.
emotion of Billy
I
Crudup.
thought
They're
so,
like,
yeah.
that scene you acted, boom. And I hope this changes because right now they said because of scheduling conflicts they're gonna recast him for
I saw
Flash.
that.
I really hope not because I really like it's small, but I really like their dynamic. I love Billy Crudup, so I hope
No,
they find a
yeah.
way to fix that because it's
I
just like. I imagine his role's not that massive in Flashpoint, so do it in reshoots. I don't know. It's just like, especially seeing this and then hearing he was going to be recasted. It's like, damn it! Like,
yeah.
no, don't do
No.
this.
There's so many things in this film that made me want more, and that like relationship dynamic, it makes me want more of those two characters because
Mhm.
I really like that dynamic. How he's like wrongfully accused, so he's in prison for like,
Killing
uh
his mom.
yeah, like that's heavy shit, but it still seems like they have
Oh
a
yeah.
really like strong bond and like his dad is like, dude, like don't worry about me, just go live your life. Like I don't know. For me that hit home and I thought that was really, really cool. And yeah, that was anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say about Ezra. I like the humor a little bit more. That scene was fucking weird, but overall, I really, really liked him in this film. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention this when you were talking about the fake ending, like when the heroes died and he's running
Mhm.
around. So many times these parademons, they just remind me of Geonosins, especially when they went on those turrets. I'm like, these Geonosins with their fucking turrets, he's gonna hit him eventually. Like I knew it was coming, but when he actually hits and then the whole plan just kind of, obviously they can't do it without Barry. I mean, I don't know, I kind of assumed from that point that's where we would get into like the nightmare stuff. So
Mhm.
that's where I thought that twist was gonna happen, where like the end of the world actually happens. And part of me was like, I don't think we're gonna get like a good ending in this film, just with how much time was left. I thought we might end the movie like this with
On a
possibly
major
Diana dying.
cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would, well, fuck it, make people want more of the film. I'm glad we didn't do that. But anyways, I really like the effect of when he was running around and
Hmm.
he was just waiting for um Victor,
Victor.
that's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Victor to like just give him the go. He's like, I don't think I can hold it much longer. And then finally, when he gets the go ahead, and then he just gets decked. Beautiful shot by the Geonosin. But yeah, I really like that scene visually, and just the fact that we didn't get a trapped family in a house being attacked by mosquitoes, and
Yeah.
then the daughter gets bug spray, and it's, oh my god.
Oh God, you remind me of the stupid bug spray. And I also liked. I felt like his running was a bit better in this, as far as just the
Mm,
way they animate. Because like I remember
yeah.
in the theatrical cut when he's doing that like that jog and everything like that. It's like this looks terrible, but like I like that even if he is kind of jogging like that, they like zoom in real hard on him, so it just looks like his body just moving. But even at the end when he like moved his hands in like a swimming motion, that was fun. So yeah, I preferred his like look in the like the movie. I still don't like the suit. We're getting a new suit in the next movie, but I like the look of his running a bit better than the theatrical. So that's good.
Did you still want the red paint on his eyes?
You don't need it, but it still looks a little odd. But I want to see the new costume before I realize if he needs the red paint or not. You know, because we're getting a new one that's gonna not look so fucking like sewn together and everything. So
Yeah, I didn't like the wires.
no.
Practically, it might make sense, but I thought they looked weird.
Mhm. You guys got anything more to add on Flash? Any more hot dog tidbits?
Go ahead, Jessica.
I think she's figuring something out with her mic. So oh, you're Jessica's
Ooh,
gone. So
okay.
Jessica's gonna figure that out. And we're gonna talk. I'm gonna look at my notes and see if there's anything. Oh, so this was just a little thing because we passed already. But the Age of Heroes, I did not like Gal Gadot's VO over that scene because she's supposed to be talking to Bruce, and she's just like, and then there was thousands of Atlanteans, and it did not feel like a natural like conversation happening
Mm,
between Bruce and the whole gang and everything like that. So, or just Bruce and her. It just felt like two voiceover where we got like Isla Stone like later on, and that felt more natural. So. I was not a fan of the voiceover there.
yeah,
Let's
that's a
see
fair
here.
point.
Yeah. Let's maybe let's talk about this little nugget before we, because this is a small one, but we talked about and didn't talk about Martian Manhunter.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
like and don't like this. I like that we got him. I like his look. I think it needs a few more $1 million to make it look better because I don't think he looked the greatest the way Steppenwolf and like I think Steppenwolf was the prime CGI. I think Darkseid was right behind him. I think Martian Manhunter was not looking like the prime CGI. He definitely needed a bit more work, and so I liked the reveal in the scene, but I also didn't like that Lois had this great scene with Clark's mom, but then it wasn't actually Clark's mom. I didn't like
That
that
was
retcon.
really fucked.
Yeah, I didn't like that he's just posing as Clark's mom and he's just like talking to Lois about her life. Like, I get the motivation him like the world needs you. I get that, but I didn't like it. I feel like it robbed
Well,
the moment between the mom and her. You know?
I I was kind of weirded out by that scene as well. I think I was more just like, holy shit, that's Martian Manhunter. Like when I
Yeah.
saw him, I think I kind of had that surprise feel. But something that kind of was make me, because I was just marinating on it from, when the time that I finished this film, waiting for the rest of the crew to finish it. But uh, was like the fact that he's putting so much emphasis on Lois, and then like in retrospective, we know that
Mm-hmm.
Lois was like the biggest key to like,
She's the key. Yeah.
yeah, so like maybe if you do get a sequel down the line and we are in the nightmare world, like maybe Martian Manhunter is kind of a more of a factor. I don't know. Again, I can only go off so much from what I saw in the
Mm.
film, but I felt like in that scene at least, like top of my I don't know, things I was noticing was just holy shit, that's Martian Manhunter. I can't believe they swapped, you know, Clark's mom. When you bring up just how it kind of takes away from that sentimental moment of those two, because those two they actually haven't like they didn't get a scene together, right? It was just other than when they were all at the farm.
Yeah, the reuniting. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
the only scene they
so
get
I
together.
guess in hindsight, that is kind of weird that Lois thinks that she had this really good heart to heart with her. Maybe they're talking about it at dinner the other night. It's like, oh, remember when you
You
came
remember
over?
when we
It's like, no.
talked? No.
Yeah, I was at the bar.
Yeah.
I was drinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Martian Manhunter's just some creep. He also posed as Iris, like that was actually him and everything. But yeah, what do you feel with the look of Martian Manhunter?
Um, I do agree with you. I think it because after we were talking about him, I think after the Justice, or it might have been Man of Steel retro, you were explaining who was going to be Martian Manhunter, and I just for some reason I couldn't remember who that was. So when I Googled it, I remembered him from the animated show. I'm like, this is going to be a weird character to bring on the live action. You know, kind of like
Mhm.
how Vision got translated into live action. Because he's just kind of like a standout character. He's a very comic booky looking.
Yeah,
Um,
fan favorite too.
so I think I did like the darkness feel that he got, but again, when you're mentioning like he could have used more money on the CGI, I felt like maybe he was so dark because they just were trying to hide the fact that they didn't have I don't know.
100%.
Yeah,
Except at the
cuz
end when he lands on fucking Bruce Wayne's like sun deck, like just like oh, there's like and like that's just pure fan service. I liked it, but it was just it was very shoehorned in of just like I'm just landing here to tell you I'm a part of the war, and Bruce like
yeah, your parents
great.
would be proud of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Which that was
See you
nice, and that
soon.
was reshot too because you could tell Affleck was a little skinnier and whatnot. He wasn't having the Batman weight, but it was like okay, that's cool. I like that we like. I wouldn't take it away. I'm saying in the future if we get more of him, I don't want this like look all like I like the design. I want just the look to be just
Yeah.
a tad better, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, whatever. Let me just write down 141 where we are. Okay. So Jessica can hear us, but we can't hear her. So let's see. So nothing going on there.
It's like
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
super low. Like I am talking very loud and I'm just barely starting to see it get picked up.
It's definitely
Uh,
picking it up.
yeah, you sound like you sound good here. Like you sound like you were before.
Uh,
Mhm.
Looks like it's starting to again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I unplugged it and plugged it back in, just the USB. But
Mhm.
this time it didn't give me any notices that it dropped. It just stopped.
hmm.
And I noticed it partway through. I tried to say comments a couple times and I noticed that it wasn't picking it up. So it stayed like that for quite a while without giving any notice or any reason why.
So your Audacity right now, what is it currently doing? Is it recording your voice when you
So
talk?
now it is. It
Okay.
wasn't before. I
Okay.
because Audacity was still up and running and I tried talking and switching it over and it wasn't. It was still just flatline. So I don't know why it stopped.
Okay, that's fine because I can use some of the Zoom audio's replacement or tracks. That's why we use Zoom. So
Well, it should be fine. It seems like Zoom and Audacity both stopped at the same time. Like it seemed like it was obviously a problem with either the mic or the soundboard.
okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's the only next thing is maybe soundboard. One day we'll try a different one and go from there and see because we've tried the mic, we've tried that, but then if it's not soundboard, then it might be something on your computer that I don't know if it is another USB, but I feel like it has to be something or. Maybe next cast you're on, bust out your other computer and we'll try that and see if there's any problems. Because then if there's problems with that, then we know okay it might be the soundboard, and then we'll figure that out. You know, always the
Well, just to ask, was there any problems with Willie? Do you remember, or with the Snyder cut? Did my mic cut out during either one of those?
oh Willie's. I was like,
I was
who the
so
fuck is
confused. Yeah.
Willie? I'm like, what's Willie? Like,
You guys
what cast
replacing
name
me.
is?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that happening. I feel like in Justice League it happened like for a second, but not like in a sense like we had to do this and stop. But I don't remember it happening with Willie at all.
Okay, because with Snyder, I did that on my other computer too, or
Okay.
with the other Justice League. So
Okay.
if it happened on that computer already once, then it might be something to do with the soundboard or the soundboard cord.
Yeah, so I don't know for sure. So yeah, I'd say next cast, bust out that computer. We'll try it one more time, and then if it does that, then we know okay, then it has to be a gear thing, and then we'll go from there and see what's popping in the soundboard area. So yeah, we'll do that then.
Okay.
Okay. Break. All right. What do you guys? You guys have anything to add on what we were just talking about there?
Martian Manhunter.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
honestly, when the whole scene when Martian Manhunter was talking to Lois Lane and when he came out and started shapeshifting for a split second when I saw the red eyes, like, oh my god, Steppenwolf just transformed into Martha Kent. This is so fucked up. Like, what was the point of this? And then it was like green. I was like, oh, it's Martian Manhunter. So I was actually pretty cool because I wasn't expecting that.
Mm-hmm. Jessica,
Yeah.
any thoughts? Obviously, you haven't seen. Sorry, Kirkland, didn't know you were gonna go
Just
there.
touching upon like, because my mind just didn't go Martian Manhunter right away. I was like, who the fuck is this new Superman looking dude? Because you know how like Superman got the red glow and everything. He's got a
Yeah.
cape. I was like, who the fuck is this new player that just joined the crew? But
They
and then
resurrected me in the wrong body.
yeah, and then obviously like when he's shape shifting back into his human form, um, I put two and two. But yeah, I was instantly my mind was like. Steppenwolf? No, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, bad Superman? No, it doesn't look like him. I'm like, who is this?
Yeah, and so for people, it probably if you listen to this, you do know, but if you don't, he was in Man of Steel and he was in BVS just playing like Captain Swanson. He's been like undercover as a U.S. agent or something like that, and that's where the reveal was. Snyder said that was always the plan. This scene and the one with Bruce, they had to do in reshoots too because they never got to shoot that. So they did. That's why I think it looks a little less because they shot that later on. So they did add this as far as, and the rumor was that that scene on the patio, that's where it was supposed to be Green Lantern, maybe even Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, but Zack Snyder said in an interview today that they just couldn't get it down for scheduling and budgetary wise. So that was the plan. So that's why we saw Martian Manhunter twice, but the plan was to have Green Lantern at the end. But yeah, so Jessica, I know you probably don't know much about Martian Manhunter, so were you just fucking bugging out when this happened? Like this guy just his mom just turned into a fucking alien, walked away, and then we don't see him again for another 2.5 hours?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who this person is or what's going on here right now. And then he was just gone. And then I'll be honest, when you guys were talking about him here a second ago, I like misheard you, and I thought you were saying, like Marsha or like their mums.
Martha, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just
Martha
like,
Manhunter.
yeah, and I'm like, who the hell are we talking about here? What is
Third
going
gen.
on? So I'm sure if we do get a second one, that character will play a bigger piece. And this is kind of, I don't remember him from Man of Steel, especially don't remember him from BVS. So I feel like to me this is kind of more of an introduction piece of kind of what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really can't remember him in the other ones.
He won't fare well on the Apocalypse Dark Side world because like his main weakness is fire. Like all of us have weakness to fire, but like that's like one of his main ones. Like it'll just like he'll burst out in flames. So like where Darkseid's living, like no, it's no good for John Jones to be showing up to try and fight.
He's gonna go back to Mars where it's cold.
Well, he can't because Mars got destroyed. He's the last Martian. He's the last. Eventually, there's some more that come, but he's very similar to Superman, where he is thought to be thought of the last of his kind. So that's why he came to Earth and stuff like that. And who knows what he's up to? Maybe we'll learn that one day. Cyborg, we haven't talked about him because clearly lots of big moments with him. He got a big thing, like Jessica was talking about in the opening, as far as we've always known, like, okay, there's supposed to be more of this character, and we got a lot more. We got to see the family life. I really actually enjoyed this relationship with his father because in the theatrical cut that we watched, like, it's very bland. Like, he's just there. Like, it's just his dad. They have a few conversations, that's it. But he's, like, a vital character. I can see why they maybe wanted to cut out the dad stuff because he's a side character, but I just think it does so good for Cyborg and the character, and, like, this whole thing of him kind of disowning his dad to wanting to fix things with his dad to obviously then his dad dies, so that doesn't really get to happen. But yeah, I think it was a good journey with Cyborg. I think Ray Fisher, I thought he was good in the theatrical cut too, but I think he's really good here too. And I think the highlight for me was getting the little dream sequences of him like creating stuff with his mind and going to places and stuff like that. So I liked everything they did here with Cyborg quite a bit.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I mean, everything was lacking in the last film, but I was really wanting to know more about this character. I feel like I knew him most from like Teen Titans back in the
Mhm.
day. He was always a cool looking character. So I was excited to see like more of him because I knew he was a vital role to the plot. And I loved it. I loved the relationship with his father. I thought that was just really really touching. And I thought they did a really good job at just playing on the fact that like he's battling like his own like internal battles of like he's not a human anymore. Like he can't
He's
feel
a
the
face.
lover's touch anymore. You know, he's all
Mhm.
robotic. But yeah,
No
like
meat snacks for him.
I really liked all the scenes that you just shouted out when it's kind of like when he's hacking things or if he's just like
Yeah.
thinking about things in his internals, like it's actually his human body experiencing it because that's just what he sees himself as. Because I mean, you wouldn't be picturing yourself as a robot. You'd be picturing yourself as what you've known for the last, 18 years or
Yeah.
however old he is. So I thought all of that stuff was really cool. Um, the thing with like him giving like that mom, like the single mom, like money and stuff, I felt like it could have been cheesy, but for me, it worked really good.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really liked it. I'm watching it and I'm like, this is a 4 hour movie. We're spending a lot of time on this, but at the end of it, I was happy with the scene. I thought it was really cool. Because just especially with his dad like explaining that like you have all the nuclear weapons in the world, and I'm like, this is a villain like intro. Like this
Oh
is
yeah, it's waiting
like
to happen.
like
One
he could.
bad day.
Yeah, one bad
Fuck the
day. Like
world.
he literally just end. He could be Doctor Manhattan and just
That's not how
And
end
you
the whole
Snyder
start
world.
off your teaching lesson to your son, like who just got all these
Yeah,
new powers. You got access to the entire nuclear arsenal.
Well,
yeah,
it's funny.
and it,
Like he had a very similar conversation. Like some of the speeches he was giving gave me flashbacks to Jonathan Kent of like, "You're gonna be really important one day, and what you do with this is important." It's like, okay, like, but like
maybe
it.
they should have died.
But I feel this one worked, and even the dialogue was like a better written because, as you can hear, me and Kirklin not a fan of Paul Kent, but I think they did a really good job because Snyder compared him to Manhattan. They really did a good job showing how powerful he could be in this
Yeah.
world being tech based. He could like a flip of the switch. He has a thought, and all these nuclear weapons go off, and they did a really good job supplanting. It was like, no, he's powerful. You don't want to fuck with
Yeah.
him.
And like so all that was being thrown at him like right away and my mind just going this is going to be a really bad evil character that's just going to end the world here. But then you have that moment of him like seeing the family that's like struggling and he kind of like cuz like yeah, he's like a super weapon now, but
Hmm.
he's still human and I thought they did a really good job at showing that just with that small scene that they had.
Honestly, I'm glad to know that other people found that scene to be like impactful because I was just
Yeah.
like, goddamn hormones and being a parent and
Yeah, it
And
was
he didn't have to
touching.
do that. He went out of his way,
No,
but it
yeah.
was nice. It's just like,
I was
you know,
expecting him to like take money out of someone else's and put it in, but he just like
from
he
her.
Yeah, take the
yeah.
little
Give me
$1 bill from her.
Yeah, I
Not
made
take her
this.
money, not take her money, take
I
money
know
from
we're
other people.
joking.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
and I mean that just goes to show too. I mean, yes, this movie was 4 hours, but there were some scenes added that kind of really give you that backstory. Like that really made you feel like he's a good character and he's
Yeah,
really trying his
Hmm.
best. And yeah, like you said, there was a lot of scenes of him watching this mom. And when I was watching this. At the beginning of it, I wasn't totally paying attention. So all of a sudden I came in and he's just like watching this mom, and I'm like, what is going on here?
yeah.
30-minute love plot.
I liked all that except for when he's just like literally like 4 feet away from them at the ATM. Like he's got no hood on, just like this big glowing dude. Like how did they
Just
not see
mugs
him?
them, use them as the bait to pull the money out of the
I'm looking
Extra
at
ATM.
my
100
kids, you
grand.
freak. Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah. Well, they even do that though when he's walking down the road. Those people like fucking side eye him, and he like puts his hood back up, like
Yeah.
everything like that. But yeah, we got some fun stuff like that was non-theatrical, like him doing his powers, flying for the first time. So, Taylor, where were we on Cyborg?
Uh, I mean, me personally, I mentioned this kind of like at the beginning of the cast where I was really into the backstories that they were giving these characters, and again, Cyborg is one of those characters that just had so much extra stuff added, and it really made me like him. He was just so mysterious in the original one. He was just some dude hanging out in this other dude's closet, and it just didn't make any sense. And now we got like all of this, like him going through the superhero phase where you learning your powers and you're kind of growing and expanding, and It was great. I really really liked it. I love the dynamic he had with his father. Again, it was really shitty how his mom died and he blamed his dad, like, that's if you were with us, she'd be alive right now. And
Which
that
is
was just brutal, because I mean,
like
a man's got to work.
maybe, but yeah, it's like I didn't like that jump. I think they could have done a little bit more because it's like she didn't do anything wrong. Like a truck like went out of control and hit her. It's
He
like
probably
eating a
dropped his
burger.
burger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
it's the same guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, we gotta fire Ned.
Just
Like,
got my license back.
yeah. Oh, sorry, Iris, but it's just like I don't think that was his fault. So I thought that was kind of a reach to be like, if you were there, it's like no, like he could have been in the
Well,
car and died too.
But he's also a teenager, that's just like missing his mom. And like, you can understand in that moment of grievance that he's just like lashing out. And like,
Mhm.
I'm sure if he has moments to just marinate on those thoughts, like, yeah, okay, it's not my dad's fault. It's just happened
He
to be
didn't
circumstance.
want to marinate on that though, because he listened to the tape recorder of all like, well, tell me my superpowers, Dad, and then as soon as he's like, this is from the heart, he's
Oh,
like crushes
I
it.
100%. I called it. You can even ask Shay. I'm like, he is 100% gonna find a way to listen to the rest of the recording, and then of course we got it at the end.
I just asked Shay. She said you're lying, so that's not good
That's
for
not
our
true. If she's
listeners.
working right now, there's no way
Oh.
she can talk to you.
No, of course we're both working in Terra Health. We all have a Discord. We all talk in.
Discord.
Anything on Elsa and Cyborg? I'm sure he might come up again, but anything specifically right now?
Go ahead, Jessica.
I just think that, uh, it was really talked about. There was kind of that high expectation that all these scenes that were added about him would change the feel of the movie. And I think that that did come through.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. He got more backstory. He got more of an emphasis on his importance to, making sure that that cube didn't get to merge and open the portal. And his ability to really tap into different pieces of technology, it seemed definitely more honed and kind of polished in this movie. So I definitely think that that was a good call on his part to give that some more character development and some more importance in this one.
Kirklin, you were gonna say something, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, when his dad died, I'm so happy they explained that, because for a second
Yes.
there, I'm like, did he really just think he could destroy the cube there? Like, that would be the worst death possible. Like, Cyborg just sees his dad just disintegrate.
For no reason.
I mean, obviously
Well,
we find
that's
out.
like the Kevin Costner death, right? Like it goes like this, like,
Oh, that's literally for no reason.
Son, don't. Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, he
I'm
literally
destroying
does
it, son. Don't come in here.
I got the tornado.
Like,
Right.
Dad, no, you can't.
Yeah, go
But
check
I'm
out our
so-
Man of Steel retrospective because fuck Paul can.
I'm so glad that they explained it, like he's trying to make it so that they can track it, which ended up being, really important. And I
Help save the day.
yeah, and like that, those effects that happen, like with the lasers going off, and you just kind of like just, I don't know what you'd call it, just like deteriorating, like his face just aged really fast, and he just kind of poofed. That was just a very holy shit, that really just happened scene for me, at least. I thought that was pretty wild. And just even before that, when his dad was like trying to stop the fake alarm, like, I get it, you gotta have a reason for how he like locks eyes with Cyborg, but I just thought that was so like corny in a way. And then like obviously he ends up seeing it as the Justice League, and he's like, okay, call it off, we're good. But like,
Yeah, he's got like a massive boner. He sees all these superheroes. He's like,
That's my
oh
son."
yeah, call it off. It's a real alarm. And the
Yeah.
security must be like, what is going on the
And
other
his-
side of
and,
that door?
like, Victor like turns around, does this little head nod, and there's a couple times that happens between different characters. Like, I know Bruce does it, I think, to Diana when he's on like the Geonosis gun,
He
and
is,
he's like,
yeah.
and then she's all like scared.
Yeah, like what is he gonna blow? He does the same thing as Silas, just shoots himself. He's like, I was gonna die on this mission
She
one way or
looks-
another.
She looks like so scared when he's looking at her, and then he just looks out and he's got those stupid shades that, I mean, they're hilarious to look at, but they still look corny.
No,
And
she had
then
that face because she was just like, is he gonna fuck me in this costume later? Like, I'd
And he's
really
just
like him to
like-
take it off.
does this cheesy little head nod thing. I'm like, this is so corny, but whatever. I'm eating it up.
But no, like I was gonna shout that out. Like the dad's death meaning some of that was good. And what I really liked was the box its origin, like them finding it, I'm not sure I should say origin
Yeah.
conclusion, because in the theatrical, I hate that Superman comes back, the box is over just like to the parking lot, and all we see is just like the boom tube open up, and they just take the box and said we'll have. It's like, how anticlimactic is this? And I
Yeah.
get why they chopped this one for time, but even in the theatrical, like the dad's still alive at the end of the theatrical. Like this is a complete change. Like that guy's dead in this
That's
version,
funny.
you know? And it's just like, but I like this so much better as far as the dad takes the box, Steppenwolf has to break through Star Labs. Like, that's
Oh,
so much better than just like, oh, they just found in the parking lot unguarded. It's like, what the
totally.
fuck? Like,
When,
you know.
when Steppenwolf comes down, and I already talked about it, but like when he gets just pissed off and those spikes just come out, and then he just leaps like into the
Mm-hmm.
building. I just loved all this stuff with him. And you just mentioning like the boxes. Um, I feel like we got so much more explanation of what they
Yeah.
are in this. I was so
Mhm.
confused by the end of the first movie. I'm like, I don't even know what these are. Like, I'm just assuming they're like
What do
Infinity
they have?
Stones,
Money?
because
You're
that's
like
what I have to
Thanos. I
compare.
don't even know who you are.
I don't even know what these are.
Yeah, so they did a really good job at explaining it in this one. I thought that was really important. And what you just mentioned, how like anticlimactic it seemed in the last film of when they like got at least the first one they kind of battled for. I think they expanded it a lot more in this one though. Um, like specifically when they're all like before they crush that, I don't know, temple, whatever it be on Amazonia. Is it
Themyscira.
Themyscira? Thank you. um like all the Amazonians just like tackling Steppen and just
Mm-hmm.
like just trying to like dogpile him. I just love that. I thought they did such a good job at just showing off how menacing this character was, and I really like him. I really liked him as a villain.
So one thing you're talking about being like a little cheesy and corny with like the dad being there. One thing I think, and don't you know, put me to the stake, people, if you're listening to this. One thing I think the theatrical version did do better was I like how Lois showed up there instead of this version, because I don't like that every day she comes and like delivers the cop a fucking
Mm.
coffee and goes to Superman's
I have a
memorial
counter to that.
and just happens to be there when Superman is being revived, and then she runs over. I still would have liked it better if Batman said, "Be here at this time," because it also makes Batman seem like a forward thinker, because he is a planner. That's his whole thing. So I do like that better than just her being there. And even then, like just like the water shoots up, and she's looking. So it was fine. I like the scenes that we get later on, which I talked about earlier, as far as when he reunites with the family. Again, I don't know why they've reshot any of that. All that stuff works. I think the only reason is because like there's like 5 minutes where he doesn't really remember stuff, where in theatrical he's like joking right away, but it's like it should be a little more somber. Like the dude just came back from the dead. Like I liked the build up, and I liked the I have to go back. They brought me back for a reason, and him walking through the ship. So all that Superman stuff I liked, but I did not like the coincidence of her happening to be there when he came back.
So yeah, the thing with Lois Lane that I so you brought up some good points. It was kind of just by happenstance that she was in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, however, I
We
thought
agree.
they
Moving
did.
on.
I thought I thought they did a really good job at just sprinkling these lowest moments, like early in the film, kind of in the middle of the film, and then when they brought her back, because every time we saw her, she looked so fucking depressed and like just so alone and just so sad. And I thought that was just really good because if we didn't see her until that moment where she just happens to be outside of the ship and then it explodes, I wouldn't be thinking about like this traumatic experience that she's been through. Like she literally hasn't been going to work. Like she's just been so like she's literally no one to talk to.
Just Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. I wonder if
Imagine one day.
he's like changing into different people
I
like
was gonna
that are in
say.
her life. Yeah.
Imagine though one day just to fuck with her, he came up as Superman, and it's just like Clark, and he just like runs away, and like she
Uh,
just thinks she's going crazy. He's just doing that thing like in horror movies where he's standing outside, like he's he's standing outside her window as Clark, and then when she looks away, he like flies away. All this stuff, like oh yeah.
But yeah, no. So I thought they did. I mean, she's got her like routine that is kind of
I
keeping her
know.
sane. So for me, I really like that we just got sprinkled of Lois, early on. I do agree with you. Like the last time that she's coming, she's like, yeah,
Yeah,
one last time,
this is the
and then of
last
course,
time.
so
Oh
that's a
fuck
little eye
off.
rolly. But all in all, I really liked what we got from her in the film.
I mean, it's pretty presumptuous of Batman to even be like, be here at this time, and they don't know if things are going to work or what's going to happen. And it's like, create this big explosion and kill Lois Lane, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
Well, I
like you
guess
tell her that you're gonna bring Clark back and it doesn't work, so she just like gets her hopes up and then just even more sad.
yeah, I see those points too. I just never like the coincidence. And yeah, like Kurgan said, like, oh, it's my last time coming here. It's like, is it?
Yeah.
Like, why do you gotta make it the last time either? You'll be back in a month. Like, you love no one like him, right? That's what you told fake Martha. So, but no, I did like the moments we got of her. It was nice and everything like that. So, and I think we may as well, I'll throw to you, Taylor. We may as well talk about Superman right now because we're talking about him. I don't think there's much different in the theatrical cut as far as and this cut versus what happens. He has the same trajectory of story. I just feel kind of like the Ben Affleck thing where you can tell these are the different takes they actually use, and it's just a bit more tone. Like I said, I think there are more somber, but I like that. And we got a good action scene in the theatrical of him beating up Steppenwolf, but I think it's even better here as far as him going to town and stuff. So I liked everything they did. Obviously, got Evil Superman at the end. I hope we do see either way, whether it's Justice League 2 or a Soul movie. I just want more Henry Cavill Superman.
Oh, yeah. I just want more Henry Cavill, like period, but also as Superman. I love him as this character. There's so many like bone-chilling moments in this that like oh, I love Henry Cavill. Oh my gosh. Anyway, someone else take the mic.
Do you love Henry Cavill Taylor? And you know what? Before you tell us, we're gonna take another ad break. Before we talk about love and loss. All right, we're back.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter.
I was
All
really
those
sold
things,
on him.
Lois.
I think he was awesome in this film. Again, compared to the original just made it seem like at the end he was the solution to every problem. You know, he was here, he was here, he was here. You know, it was just a deal breaker. It just totally pulled the fun and the like realism. Again, I know it's
Yes,
a comic
Machina
book
is what
movie.
you're looking for.
Sure. It just pulled the realism out of a unrealistic movie, I guess you could say, where it's like he's there, he's everywhere, and he's fixing it up. Again, I thought it was funny that they still had that Superman scene in here, but
It was a different take though. It wasn't
was
as
different,
loud.
yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, the fight scene was awesome. It was much more like honed in, composed, I would say, and just intense, especially with Steppenwolf. And I don't mind the scenes that were reshot, I guess, with him and the family. I guess to me it makes sense because they had to do the stash thing, obviously.
But why? Why? Because the scenes we get in the theatrical with him are just like new versions of him with Lois and his mom, and he's just like more happier. And it's just like
Yeah.
I feel like those scenes work perfect the way they were in this movie. Like I
To
don't
be
think
honest,
there's any reason.
I wouldn't have known they were reshoots if you didn't say anything.
Well, you just gotta look at his face because his face in the
To his
theatricals
face,
all
I was
fucked up.
I was thinking the whole time like, okay, they really just did some magic or like put his head in there or did some crazy thing. But I thought that it was just I didn't know that they were actually reshoots. But that is interesting. But again, like they wanted to spend the money to completely just do away with any of those mustache
God.
shots, and I don't blame them.
$300 million
Probably
later.
still suffering PTSD from it, but it's yeah, I don't know. I think he was great. I think he was definitely fantastic, and I love the buildup of all these other movies that incorporate Man of Steel now, and he's reached this point where he's come back from the dead, and it's awesome. And the trajectory of where that's going with having evil Henry Cavill, like holy shit, like sign me up. I thought we were only getting like a little taste in that Suicide Squad game that was coming out, but like to see that in a film, I'm totally on board.
And I will say, like, we're not the biggest fans of Pa Kent, but I really love the scene where he's walking through the ship and both his fathers are talking back and forth.
Yeah.
I did quite like that, and I will always say this, even as somebody that's like I passed Man of Steel when we did the retrospective. I'm starting to like it more, but still not really a big fan of Man of Steel. I will always say top 5, top 3. His theme is so good. When you hear those piano notes, like it just makes me emotional. I don't know why. Like I know you love Man of Steel, but when it's just like dun dun dun,
Just
dun,
start to
and it's
feel like
just
a piece of shit, like you'll never amount to be what
Yeah.
Clark Kent is.
And like honestly, I don't know why this happens too, because like in BVS, the only time I cried is when Superman died. But then when we went to the funeral scene and his mom like put his hand on or her hand on his dead body, I same thing started to tear up too when he was hugging both Lois and his mom. I was like, my God, why does this happen? But it's just like it was like emotional. But I love the score that they kept mostly his OG theme. And that theme is just like it's just so fucking good. That Superman theme, like just stellar.
I also had an emotional moment with Henry Cavill. It was when Lois Lane actually showed up. I thought that was so well done. It seemed like I felt like there was just no music, like it was just silent, and it was just such a well shot scene of having those two just like locking eyes. Obviously, he's kind of coming back into the real world. I wasn't that attached to that moment the first time I saw that film. Again, maybe this was because they just planted those seeds of like Lois early
Mhm.
on in the film just being so alone, and I felt like that just stuck with me. And then when I got that, them two meeting, obviously I knew it was happening, but still in that moment, it was just a really, really good meet-up scene, and obviously it's pretty similar to what we got in theatrical, where it's just like, just go, let's just get out of here, and then
Could
they just go
could you
off.
imagine if he, because obviously he was staring at Bruce, he had his laser eyes going full blast. Could you imagine if Lois says like Clark,
Clark.
and he just turns and doesn't shut his eyes off and just lasers her? Like, holy shit.
Oh, he would be bad Superman.
Real quick. Oh yeah. And Kirkland, you said you thought the scene was silent. Actually, "Dream On" by Aerosmith was playing in that moment, so I'm surprised you didn't hear that
There was
one.
another scene that was silent. I forget which one it was. It might have been with Ezra, when everyone died. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it, which I honestly I'm surprised
Right
I do
now,
want to rewatch this.
back to
Yeah,
back.
right now. Yeah. This. What
And then I
about
go to
you?
work. Yeah.
Yeah, mid watch still, walking to work. Hang on, Superman's coming back.
And then we were just talking about Superman. I absolutely loved when he showed up when Stephen was about to just axe Cyborg in the back,
Yes,
and he just like literally instantly was there. He's just like not impressed and just fucked him up.
and he did the
It's
freeze breath
so
on the axe too. Really cool.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so reminiscent of like when Thor arrived in Wakanda, and it's like, oh man, like we have a god on our side. Like that's what it felt like, and it was just so well done. And I just love seeing like in small dosages. I love seeing like a super 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 powerful character just fucking people up. It's so fun. I mean, it'd get boring if you're watching it for an hour and a half, but also, I was gonna ask, when did Superman come back in the theatrical version? I felt like it was much, much earlier. Obviously, it's a 4-hour movie, but I felt like just the ratio of the film, it was much sooner.
I think it might
Kind of
be
just
sooner,
blocked
but
out of
I
my
think it's just
mind.
because the movie's shorter. You think he's in
Yeah.
it more. I think
Okay.
it's probably pretty similar with a little more additional stuff. That I
Okay.
think, yeah.
Yeah, because I really like that he wasn't in the first half of this film, actually.
Hmm. Just symbols and talked about and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That scene where again you have the Man of Steel on that little like balcony area, and you have all the members of the Justice League, and all Darkseid's just watching Steppenwolf get fucked up. Like he's just
Yeah.
like just watching the show.
And I
This
did
one
like
antler. Yeah.
And I did like that all those scenes that we talked about in the commentary track that we liked a lot in the battle with Superman versus Justice League were all like center stuff, and we still got that Flash running moment. So I
Oh,
love like
I laughed hard at
there's
that
just so many
again. Yeah.
moments when I was watching this. It's just like, oh, good, that's the version that's staying because I was worried we'd lose a lot of those, and luckily I said there's maybe only one or two things that I like, and even the stuff I love we didn't lose. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's I mean, I wasn't following the Snyder cut as closely as Travis here, so I wasn't sure if there was Whedon scenes in this. So it is interesting thinking that like he cut all those out. So like
yep,
those
not a
scenes
single one.
that I liked from the theatrical version was actually a Snyder, input there. Another scene that, correct me if I'm wrong, but because I thought it was different, was when they like jumped that gap and they jumped the bridge. Was that done differently in the theatrical version? Because this one, Barry just goes like instantly because she's like, "We got to be a team, we got to do this together," and then he's just like instantly across the bridge.
Oh yeah, well because that scene's different too. Because remember, this is what I like in this version too. Flash isn't this fucking guy who's like, I don't know how to save people. What do
Yeah,
I do? Like I've never done this before. That was stupid. So in this scene, he's just saving people. I didn't like the stairwell when he's like cracking lots of jokes and stuff like that. But yeah, that was different because he was just like saving people and being a hero.
yeah. I mean, that entire sequence was just 100 times better than what we got in the theatrical version because like
Yes.
they actually go in there and kick ass and like it's fun.
Score
Cyborg
was
jumps in
good
there.
too. Like that
Score
gets
was so good.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
when
I had
Diana
heard
jumps in there.
yeah, I'd heard snippets of it before, like by itself. I was like, I need to hear this with the team, and it really worked anytime like that. That like just kind of heavy metal came in, and it
Yeah.
worked.
No, that was so good. And then you just mentioned the Barry stairwell scene. I was like, why doesn't he just grab them and like
Yes.
run them? But humor me, I guess. Like I'll get it. Like I'm kind of chuckling when he's just going back and forth. Not the strongest comedy hit for me, but I really liked when they go outside and then all that debris is coming down and like the effects of him just like running around really quick, just like clearing it all.
Hmm.
I thought that just looked really, really cool. And then of course
Yeah.
Cyborg, the one guy Barry doesn't save his Cyborg's
His
father.
dad is gonna let him get crushed with this fucking rock, and like he's lucky Cyborg didn't call him out.
Well, it's funny because as soon as Cyborg does that, he's like walking right at Barry. I thought he was gonna like smack him around
Me
or
too.
something.
I thought he was gonna call him out, but no, he didn't. Because he was like, he secretly was still fine if his dad died at that moment. You know, he's like, ah, whatever, fuck him. Jessica, you got any thoughts on Superman or anything we talked about there?
Yeah, I a lot of what you said, I wouldn't have known stuff was reshoots if you didn't really say it. It wasn't obvious enough to me. I think I will be honest, I haven't listened to you guys' Man of Steel retro, but I think last time I checked, I was one of the few people that actually liked Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still okay.
Well,
So
no, Taylor's kind of went back on it. He likes it more, and I did give it a pass on the retro. I gave it a 6, where before I used to give it a fail. So I've liked it more over time. It's not one that I'm always like, I can't wait to watch Man of Steel, but I feel like almost now, if I want to do the trilogy, I kind of have to watch it with these one now because I like Justice League a lot, and that's like the beginning. So I will watch it again at some point.
So, for me, I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I liked, Man of Steel. So, I still enjoyed it. I do think that there was some better scenes. So not necessarily like the reshoots, but things that were new scenes, such as, like that was mentioned with the axe was really good. I enjoyed in this one a lot more when Cyborg, yells for Superman to come help him rip the cubes apart. I think that
Mhm.
this one is done a lot better than
Yes.
in the theatrical.
Superman.
Superman. Fuck off. Who's this guy? Cyborg? All right. Cool.
Like
It's the new guy.
Yeah.
couldn't just have him yell Kent too, or Clark. We only get one Clark, and that's
Steppenwolf will know his identity.
He'll hunt down Martha and dress up. He'll dress up as this bum like Martian Manhunter did.
Marsha. How do you know that name? um, yeah, I think I'm I'm interested to see if we do get a second one. More so what kind of happens next. I feel that there wasn't. I feel like there was more stuff added for Cyborg and kind of other main characters. So I don't think that there was a whole lot to really go on new for this one. I think it was more just the lead up of what'll happen if we get a sequel or another one about him becoming evil and dark and what those steps are. And I think that's more what I'd be interested to learn about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other one we haven't talked about too is like Aquaman, who I really like Aquaman. I will say in the theatrical, I always felt he was just kind of there. I liked the performance. I don't want to say he's just there in this one. He has that, but what I liked is we did learn this stuff in Aquaman, but in this film, this is the first time you actually learn about like a lot about his mother and his brother and why he's supposed to be king, but he's not. Where in the theatrical, I think it's only 1 or 2 lines. They take that out. Actually, Willem Dafoe, Lighthouse Man, he was actually, his scenes were restored. Mara has a British accent in this one, where she does not in the Aquaman movie, so that's kind of funny that it's in a
I thought
different
it was
world.
new. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
recognize it.
yeah. I don't know if it was needed, but I did like that. And the scene I really liked of Aquaman, which was not theatrical, was him talking with Wonder Woman, who like they have these races that hate each other and are mortal enemies, and just like
Yeah.
when he's like, "Oh, my father said that," or like, "My people said this," like my people say that too. So it's just like there's not much different. And even then, just him being sure like, "Oh, the Amazons hate Atlanteans," and he's like, "Well, I hate them too. So I hate them maybe even more than you." So I really liked that kinship they built there. So I think Aquaman stayed similar, but I liked the new stuff we got with him, just learning a bit more about him. We got that solo movie, so we kind of learned that anyways, but I think in the context of this film it works out well. And as I said before, Momoa is just the Brendan Fraser of this generation. He's just fun to watch. I can watch him in just kind of anything. Like he's just such a cool dude, and yeah, I
Yeah.
like Aquaman and really enjoyed some of the new stuff we got.
Early in the film, it's so funny when he's like going off into the dock about to like he just like rips off his tank, and it's just like a shot of his glorious pectorials
Mhm.
and like just his figure, and Shay's like getting ready to go to work. She's like, look at that scene, eh? It's just like it's like it's probably like 12 to 15 seconds of just his body. I'm like, yeah, I'm not complaining. Look at this man, like just
Yeah.
looking glorious. But I really liked his relationship with Barry actually
Mhm.
in this. I thought they had some good just like one-off stuff with each other. um like shortly after Victor's father dies, and I liked how they were just having that one-on-one there, and then Barry's like, I thought you didn't care or anything. He's like, I didn't say that. Like I
Yeah.
just like you said, he's just a really cool dude, and I liked having him on screen there. Did he have like the full-on like gold costume in the original theatrical?
No, he didn't. And that's what the
Okay,
other
that's
thing
what
in
I
this movie.
thought.
They explain where he got the trident and where they explain where he got the trident, where he got the armor, and
Yeah,
where he and why he showed up to Atlantis or wherever that place is in the water to protect them. Because in the
yeah.
theatrical, he's just like the dude in jeans, and then he just shows up in armor. It's like, okay, like, and that's some things that the BVS Ultimate Cut does, where it does like. I don't think it's miles better, but it just explains some stuff, and I think this did that as well, where it explained a few things. I still think that scene in Atlantis with the mother box is still kind of like the Wonder Woman bank thing. It's kind of like underwhelming for me, especially like I feel like the Themyscira one is so good, and the Atlantis one is just kind of like it's just fine. Like it's all right. It does its job well. I don't like the moment when Steppenwolf like throws the axe down to get Mara, and Aquaman blocks him, and then him and Mara have like this like we're gonna fuck face, and they just like they're staring at each other for 5 seconds.
That was
They
the
go back to
equivalent
battle.
to Diana and Bruce touching the mouse at the same
Yeah,
time.
but it's not in the middle of battle, so it's like they're like I didn't like that, but
That's a good one. Yeah, I
yeah, we
forgot
didn't have
about
the
that.
gold armor in the theatrical. That's just in the Aquaman movie.
Yeah. Something I did really like about that underwater sequence was when Mara was like fucking blood bending and like was
Oh,
taking the blood like
ooh,
out of Steppenwolf. I thought that looked so dope.
it's gotta hurt.
I,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I wanted to shout out too that I did enjoy that because when we watched the theatrical version, we definitely talked about the stupidness of her like creating the air
Yeah,
bubble.
yeah.
We're like, okay, well, why is she even doing this? And when she did that with Stefan and started pulling everything out of him, all the water, it was kind of like, okay, well, here's at least a point in showing why she has this power and what it's useful for.
Just
Mhm.
talking bubbles.
So I thought that was a cool use of showing how she can use that power.
Yeah.
But then
It
she
looked
still
sweet.
talks to fucking everyone else in the bubble. It's just like why? Like it's just like, and especially in Aquaman, like they're all underwater. I'm glad they fixed that in Aquaman. I like the way in Aquaman better where they're just like in CGI screens talking underwater, because it's like if you could breathe underwater and talk underwater, why are you creating these bubbles all the time? You know?
Wasn't there some like fish noises or like echolocation noises at one point when they were in the water, kind of showing that they had better communication in the bubble?
Maybe in this world there could have been. I don't remember that. I only echo and I remember is like seeing like Superman's cries go throughout and whatnot. So okay, so we talked. Well, I think we've talked about every single character in particular. So if there's any last thing, I have some notes to shout here, not trivia, just notes I took throughout the movie. But is there anything in particular we want to shout out right now that we haven't talked about?
Um,
I liked Willem Dafoe. I should have said that. I liked him
I liked Willem
as
Dafoe
Yeah,
as
always.
I
well.
Yeah,
agree.
he's great. What a fisherman. You
And his
found all
father
my
was a
lobster?
lighthouse keeper.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I pretty much went through everything. My one note was this saved the DCEU for me, honestly, which
Mm-hmm.
was pretty crazy. I remember just kind of memeing about like, okay, they're gonna remake this film. It's not gonna save the way that I look about this universe, and they actually did that. So, huge credits to Zack Snyder and the whole team that did this one. So,
My question is, how do we get Dylan to watch it now?
Oh God, that we'd have to pay him high amounts of money, or do
Pay him
some
the
sort
same
of
amount they paid on those reshoots for the
70 million.
Clark
Wow,
scenes.
yeah. Oh well, those are even more. But yeah, some of the notes I had is at one point. I think this is not in the theatrical when Bruce goes to talk to Barry for the first time, and Barry's like, "I know sign language," and he says, "And gorilla sign language." like I said, I don't think it's in theatrical, and that's also a nod to one of his villains, Gorilla Grodd, who is like a monkey who can like have mind control and stuff like that, and he has like Ape City, and there's other monkeys. So just a little shout to him. Maybe he's already fought the monkey. I don't know. In particular, I liked most of the score in this movie, but I really liked Aquaman's score. It kind of just had this like, I don't know, just quiet, nuanced sort of score. I liked that. I liked that in this, I don't believe it was in theatrical. Flash like multiple times referred to Superman like he was my hero and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really like
So
that.
I think when they face down, it gave it a bit more importance as far as like this is his idol, and now his idol's like throwing around, like trying to kill him. Really liked that. This might have, I think this was maybe in theatrical, but I still love the line of, uh, Barry says to Batman like, "You have a satellite," and he's like, "I have 6." I like that. And then my last thing was when they all meet Alfred. Batman goes, "This is Alfred. I work for him."
Yeah,
And like, and
that's
I just like all of Alfred's like quick little meetings with them all. And I still really like Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I think he does a really good job. And I like
totally.
seeing him with the team. I wish they would have made some little comment, even in 2016 where they're writing this, about like it's good to see other people in the Batcave again, considering there was like a Robin and maybe other people in the Batcave. So I wish there would have been a bit more looting. And I still wonder too, like in BVS, he had that dead Robin suit up there, right? Did he take it down, or did the Justice League members just walk by going to get coffee? And it's just like, well, that's more. There's a fucking like suit of his dead sidekick. Like this is
What do you think
fucked
is the
up.
story behind that?
He's and every time Bruce like, well, the Joker fucking killed my son with a crowbar. Like he gets into it every time, just super depressive. But yeah, those were just some other notes. All the other notes I had, we kind of covered and talked
Yeah,
throughout this review.
no, you already mentioned, but like when Alfred and Diana were kind of having their little
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one in the Batcave, I love that. I just thought that was really fun dynamic. She's just really, really smart. She's been around for so long, and he's very smart, and they're just talking about making tea. I just thought that was a really, really fun scene, and I want to see more of those too. And like you just mentioned, the quick meetings that he had with everyone, and then sorry, Aquaman. He's like sick. I forget what he said. Just classic bro quote, but made
Yeah,
me
I can't
enjoy
remember.
the
He's just
moment.
like badass Alfred, like something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Jessica Taylor, anything else to show before we give our final scores here?
So, because unfortunately my mic kind of cut out right when you guys were talking about it, I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff with Barry in this. I know Travis not a huge fan, but I enjoyed, seeing that relationship with his father. I enjoyed kind of seeing, I know you're not a fan of it, but I enjoyed his comedy. I think
Mm-hmm.
his lines, well, terrible, or that's kind of the allure of them. I think that I say this lightly because there's always room, but the time travel didn't bother me that much in this one. I think that it was not enough to, like, this whole multiple timelines with the stones having to go back, which then when they wouldn't have taken the stones in the first place, that's just getting too complicated. This was just kind of, like a 30-second clip where he went back for that 30 seconds and, it just it wasn't enough to bother me. So
Let's see what happens in the sequel or the Flash movie when time travel is gonna be really heavy.
yeah,
You
we're
know.
not talking about that
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
That's its own separate entity. So I definitely, enjoyed more of him. There was also a couple of extra scenes with Aquaman, such as like the intro where he's kind of being the dialogue between, the leader of
Mm-hmm.
the city or the town, um, and really just kind of being. I know you guys didn't like that kind of singing piece, but it really showed that he's like kind of the humble God living among them,
Yeah.
and like they all know it. And they're kind of seem like I don't know if praying would be the right word, but showing their respect to him in a way as he's going back to the sea.
I think they were singing
Yeah.
for the 25 G's he just scored for him.
We're
No, he
drinking
actually-
tonight.
They cut a scene where Aquaman was like, "You better sing every time I come in and leave this port, or I'll kill your family." It was really dark, so that's why they cut it.
I gotta mention too, like when he's like just there translating, like who the fuck stands out the most in this group? Like who do you think this god type guy is? The dude with all the tattoos. Again, maybe he's wearing this jacket, but like still, he's just fucking jacked. He's got these weird looking eyes. Like,
Yeah.
he just stands out so much in this group of the. I don't even know where those, like some Icelandic
Oh yeah.
country. I
Some
don't know.
DC place, yeah.
DC place.
Well, they're Gotham, Metropolis, Star City. They live in made up worlds, so it might be just some,
Not
version of-
Washington D.C. That's
No,
what
no,
the
no.
people are like there.
Yeah, that's their Washington D.C. is these people.
And then I'm trying to remember where I was gonna go with this before we started talking about the singing, preaching women.
Yeah.
I'll pass it off to Taylor for a second, then I'll come back after.
It probably has no notes.
We were
That
supposed to
would be
take
a
notes.
first.
You can say no if you got everything. That's fine.
He's trying to kill time.
You don't have
Yeah,
to
I
kill
wanna
time.
push
We're
this
going
to
on
3
2.5
hours.
hours. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a review if it's 3 hours.
Well, no, didn't you pass off a specific topic or character? You passed off to like me and Jessica, or was
No, I
it
just
like
said-
all like
no.
in summary before our ratings?
Final thought, like anything to shout specifically
Okay.
before we do our final ratings.
I mean, I don't have anything like to show it specifically. Just it's just like all in all, it's just really. It was a really good movie. Like the
it's not the final
development-
ratings yet. No, I'm joking.
I can
development
shout
and
something
the-
else specific.
Oh,
Sorry,
fine,
Taylor.
Okay, yeah.
No,
yeah.
sorry, Taylor. I didn't realize you were.
Apology accepted. There was one thing I wanted to shout out, and I'm trying to remember it specifically.
Can I go while you think?
This is why you take notes, dude.
No, the whole time travel thing that happened with Barry Allen. Like I didn't get to talk on that earlier, but I thought it was interesting. Like again, out of all these characters, Clark Kent has died twice now, which is pretty crazy. Like it was cool to see him kind of like rebuilt. I don't understand how he went through the fabric of time to go back in time, because I feel like if he's gonna outrun the speed of light, he would only be able to run forwards through time. I don't understand how he could run backwards through time.
Well, that's interesting about speed of light is that there's no way for us to surpass it, so we don't know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, but he could surpass it, and that's him going.
I know,
ahead of
but
it.
we as humans don't know what that would do to the
So that
fabric
could
of
be
space
exactly
time.
what happens.
Yeah,
what Kirklin's
exactly.
saying.
I see.
I'm trying to lean on their side here.
Taylor doesn't buy your bullshit.
I'm just a
answer.
DC fanboy now after this film.
Yeah.
You and your dark seed.
Yeah, I'll give you my dark seed. There was a moment that I laughed so hard at. It
What
was
did you
when,
say, Martian Manhunter?
it's like the flashback scene when Darkseid just gets murked, and his little lackeys are like, I don't know, the warlock dudes that are like doing their magics on the cubes. It's so funny. There's just like these Amazonians that just like launch their arrows, and the 3 magician dudes just get fucking murked. Like they just their death scene. I just laughed like out loud. I thought it was so just abrupt, and like I thought these were gonna be like, you know, the Black Order, almost like the Thanos type characters that are gonna be around for a while, but no, they just got
They
fucking
probably
murked
don't
by
even know
these
why they were there.
Amazonian Warrior 2, you know, like no name character. But
That lantern that was involved in that fight, like I really like the dog man look he had, and just like he was just a very cool design.
That's a good reminder. I forgot that moment when like the ring falls off of him, and who
Darkseid
was
was
it?
gonna grab it, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna
was
get this power.
Yeah, so he was looking at it, and then it's gonna go find Ryan Reynolds, and
It's exactly where it went. Or no, it would have went to Abin Sur, and then
Yeah.
Abin
yeah,
Sur
that's what I
would've
was
gone to
thinking. I was trying to
Ryan Reynolds.
remember how he got in the first place, but
Haven't, sir. Out of all the things Taylor remembers, he remembers Adam. Sir.
Yeah.
Fuck. Congrats.
well, I loved seeing Green Lantern on film. That was dope.
Yep. I hope we get more soon. Hope we get more.
Barry's meat snack. Have you remembered what your?
Okay. I don't know why that part stuck out to me so much when you just. So I
'Cause it's
always
a
have.
middle, he's saving somebody. He takes a fucking hot dog and he looks at it very sexually and he puts it in his
Very
pocket.
odd.
At least he
Yeah,
didn't like brush her face with it. Or
No, but
something.
that's what he
So much
actually-
worse.
That's what he calls it afterwards when he's like sitting in
Yeah.
with all the dogs, and
Yeah.
he's like, "I always carry a meat snack in case something gets stressful."
I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, weirdo.
You
You're
are
not getting
not
this
hired.
job. yeah, you broke my window too, you ass. I saw your super speed.
I saw your shoes here.
Yeah, yeah, I got super eyes.
It goes like that scene when Superman like sees him running.
Yeah,
It's just like
it's
her.
her, just a dog owner. This is the only
It,
power I have.
luckily, I did make a note of it, so I did remember. I did want to ask you guys on your. Did it take you out of it to have it go part 2, part 3?
Mm-mm.
No,
You
I
just kind of
liked it.
rolled with it.
Not really. I mean I knew there's 7. Was it 7 parts, including the epilogue?
7.
Yeah. So I
Yes.
knew it was something like that. So I think it was just kind of pacing wise. I kind of knew where I was because of them. Um, I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about how it was supposed to be a series, right? But I also felt like certain parts were longer than others.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know
it would
how
have been
well
edited
they're spaced
different.
out.
Yeah, I don't think because it was
Yeah.
only supposed to be 4 episodes. I don't think it would have been that. And like, obviously, especially because that first half, like Kirklin, you talked about how we got a lot more of stuff we'd kind of seen theatrical, just different angles, whatnot. I'm so happy this wasn't a series because watch this week to week. I don't think it would have had the
Yeah.
same impact on me, to be honest. Like I probably near the end, but like as a full, meal course, I like that better than just if it would have been like, oh, every week you can come back. Like I just don't think because obviously it wasn't made that way, but it
Yeah.
just worked better being a movie. So I'm glad they end up going this route.
No, 100%. And you're just mentioning earlier how, like, I don't think they could have done something like this if we didn't get that first film. Because there's no way they're releasing a 4-hour movie,
Not in
to like
theaters, no.
with these types of actors and like that budget to just like throw it on an HBO or something. Like I feel like that never would have happened. And then like you just mentioned a 4-hour movie in theaters, that's never gonna happen. So it's almost like a
Uh,
perfect concoction.
I
Sorry.
won't say never. I think we're getting closer to that. Like the fact that Endgame was $1 billion movie and it was 3 hours. So like I think soon we get 3.5, and one day we'll get 4. I think you could get 4, or like if you put a Lord of the Rings extended. But I think in 2017 it was not
But even
feasible.
well, okay, I take your point, but also like I feel like the studio would have been like, "Okay, you gotta cut some of these things out." Like,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I don't think it would have been as good if we got that route. So I think like for how happy I am with this movie, I don't think I would have had that same feel to
Hmm.
the extent if we didn't get the version 1, which is hilarious. That's just completely retcon now.
Yeah. Do you have a final score there, Kirkland? Because you were talking,
Yeah,
sound like
sure.
a good final thought. So.
Sure, I'll just piggyback onto what I was already saying.
Mhm.
I did not expect my thoughts on the DCEU, sorry. What's DC Black too? Is that this or is that something different?
No, DC Black's comics, those are rated R
Oh, okay.
comics. One time they showed
Okay.
Bruce Wayne's dick and people got mad, so they had to edit it out,
Your
but it was a
Superman
good
dick?
looking dick. Not
Get
yet,
Henry Cavill
because they
on
had
that
so
one.
much controversy with showing Bruce Wayne's dick, and it's like, it's a fucking rated R
Was it
comic book. Who cares if it's
specifically Ben Affleck's
No, it
illustration?
was just a Bruce Wayne dick. It was just a Wayne dick.
A
Like,
Wayne
yeah.
dick.
Just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Wayne dick.
It was, and people got all upset about it. It's like, it's a
Um,
fucking rated R comic book. This is what we're supposed to see is bat dick, you know?
so I never would have guessed that something like this would be able to redeem the DCEU for me, and I 100% am in that group now where I want more of these characters, like with these actors.
Here
That's a
comes the
big key.
hashtags.
Yeah, like honestly, I might change my name, DC, get the Snyder.
Number one
Um,
Snyder fanboy.
yeah, so like I I'm so hyped on this. I'm definitely gonna be rewatching it, which
Mhm.
again is something I never thought I would be willing to do a 4-hour movie. But no, I love this. I thought it was so good. Thought it redeemed the characters that we saw originally. Um, just so happy with it. I'm gonna be recommending it to everyone that has a subscription to HBO. We don't have HBO Max up
Crave.
here, but yes, okay, Crave with the HBO add-on. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. So I think I'd give it an like a 9 out of 10. I was gonna go higher, but I think just yeah, I think 9 out of 10 is a healthy score for it.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, and I'll do the classic. Like, I want more watch because it's a long one, but I'm definitely at a 9. I could maybe go to like a 9.5 because my
Yeah,
favorite DCU movie is Birds of Prey, and it's tough to put these back to back because they're very different movies, and it's like which one do I prefer? This could be my favorite DCU movie. It could honestly be because I love Birds of Prey, but just like I think some of the epicness and the scale of this, like I said, near the end, I
Yeah.
was getting really fired up. And like I said at the opening, I was always interested in this, especially for the fans of people that really want to see it. And I've met some great fans over and people podcast on our podcast network, but it was still like, okay, let's get this out here. It'll be an interesting cast to do, but then we'll move on. But the fact that I am like, yeah, I want to do this, the hashtag now is hashtag restore the Snyderverse, and it's like, you know what, I'm on that bandwagon now because it's like I was surprised, and again, it helps we have different versions of these characters because we also have just another Batman coming out, Robert Pattinson. So it's crazy, and it's crazy that this is my favorite one of his. And like I said before, there's issues, but I feel like with Man and Steel BVS, the issues I have with those movies are much bigger than any issues I have with
Yeah.
this. This isn't a perfect film, but those ones I think there's like I said, I like BVS, but at times I don't even think sometimes it's a good movie with the way it's edited or the way it's written. Where this it doesn't really have that. It comes together really nice, and I think this is the thing that I love about Zack Snyder. And if we get more, it'll be interesting because I think you need this outlet, though. You need him to have 4 hours or something like that because I think if you chop him down, this is a guy, he's admitted he doesn't do short stories. He doesn't do short movies. So I think the best way would do either a big movie split into 2 parts or a series somehow, which could get expensive, but
Yeah.
if this is successful, that's the way it goes. And yeah, I'm honestly in shock because I was ready to move on, be like, hey, let them finish this. Let's see what else we got going on. But I think it was knocked out of the park on a lot of accounts. And I think some way or another they should have found a way to put out this version in 2017 because this would have saved them a lot of time. Because the funny thing is, too, after all this time, even on Rotten Tomatoes, it's his best reviewed DC movie. So it's like all around, it seems like the fans are happy, critics are happy, and this is the one time they're like, nope, we're not doing the Snyder thing, which I get because Man of Steel was controversial. BVS was, they wanted more money, but maybe you should just stuck with the storm. And I get it because I was also someone saying that, hey, I didn't really want to see Snyder's vision, and you know what, I'm happy to be wrong. I've been wrong many times with the Snyder Cut thing, and I am. So I'll go
I
right now for the hype at 9.5.
Oh, the hype. I
Yeah.
was I was feeling the hype, but I
Yeah,
talked
it
myself
could
down
honestly
from
drop
it.
to 9. I gotta watch it again because it's a lot of movie, but just that hype. Because like I said, that especially some of that Batman Joker stuff near the end, just like, oh yeah, give me that all
Right.
day.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna do the classic Kirkland thing and just interject to throw out some more points here. I forgot to shout out just like the combat in general, like throughout the entire film. I thought like the fighting choreography was just stellar.
Oh
We
yeah,
only really
Snyder's great.
shouted out like the key moments, but I thought all of it was just really good. Um, and then you just as we were talking about the Snyder Cut thing, I had this just vision of myself when I'm just like shit talking Snyder Cut and like this is so pointless. Why do we need this? Darkseid looks like shit. He's a mini boss.
Mini
And then
boss.
all of a sudden there's like a flash version of me breaking through the space time continuum. It's like Kirkland, save the Snyder Cut. You're gonna love it.
You're also gonna like the Switch too.
You're gonna. Oh man, we get to go probably make a list of all the things that I've just completely 180'd my perspective. I'm a flip flopper.
Taylor, oh go ahead. Are you still going?
No, not really. I guess yeah. Okay, I'll say one more thing since you want me to speak. I hate Man of Steel. I hate that film,
You
but
hate it? I felt you passed it even on the retro. I can't remember.
I hate the Krypton stuff. So let's cut an
Yes,
hour
I
off of
was
that
gonna
film,
say.
and
I was
then
gonna say you hate
I
lots
love the
of it.
film. But like just watching this, I'm like, man, I want to go back and watch Man of Steel and like all these
Hmm.
things about me telling myself that I'm not gonna rewatch these movies. So it's kind of funny, just the amount of times I flip flop and change my tune and.
So Taylor, I see the cat back there, looking all stoic and creepy.
I didn't realize he was on camera. Actually,
I saw it. I saw it. So yeah, we're leaving Jessica
Does he
last.
stink like shit?
that's the one that smells like shit.
He was gonna say poo, but then he said shit. Taylor, what is your score for this? Because you gave the original Justice League, I believe, a 9 out of 10. So is it the same or is this better?
Well, this is the interesting thing. So this movie, like in terms of cons, again, I like how it was a full like 7-parter and every character had a good amount of backstory and development and everything progressed really nicely. Do I feel like it was too long? Yeah, I would have preferred it to be around more like the 3.5 hour mark, but
359. You know.
yeah, at the end of the day, we got through it. But that's probably like my only con. Really, is just how long it was. again, like I said, the characters' developments, everything was great. The villains having more backstory to understand and connect with, I really liked, and a lot of the stuff that they added in these extra scenes was awesome. The fighting you mentioned, Kirkland, like I was so hyped on so much more of seeing Wonder Woman just going to town and just fighting and just more action. It was just so awesome, and yeah, again, just that end scene, that epilogue was awesome. Martian Manhunter finally really appearing was so good, and that Joker scene at the end just totally is. That's at least like 5 points, I'd say. Like it was
Gave you the reach
so
around.
good. Yeah, the reach around.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because you loved Barry in the first film. You said like pretty much all the humor hit for you. How did
Mhm.
you feel about the humor? Because it was a little bit different in this one. It was like again, he's the same type of character, but I felt like the humor was a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the humor wasn't necessarily different. I feel like it was the same humor. It was just most of the lines were
Fuck you,
cut.
Kirkland.
So,
Fucking wrong, idiot. Kirkland, you
Yeah.
suck.
Watch it again, bitch.
Yeah.
but no, I like again, like I just I like how a lot of the dialogue was acts. Like the whole time Superman was brought back, all that dialogue was cut out. It wasn't like you won't let me die, you won't let me live. Like all that was gone, and
Yeah,
Fuck
I'm
that.
glad I forgot he even talked. I'm
yeah.
glad he didn't talk in this
So
one.
all
Yeah.
Do you
that's
bleed?
axed, and I enjoyed it. Like again, Zack Snyder did a lot of good things, and again, the cherry on top was just like that end, just with the tribute to Autumn. I think that was really special. I think that was really
Yeah.
touching, and I think him doing this film again, uh, call me out, but I'm just saying like it does justice. It really, really does, and I'm happy for the community that has this movie now and can add it to the collection. I hope that they put it out on Blu-ray 4K.
They
so
are.
They can, oh, good. Okay, because
In
now I'm tempted to purchase it and add it on my shelf.
I kind of am gonna purchase it. I think. Yeah.
I think it's definitely a collector's
Dude, I'm
piece.
kind of tempted.
Um,
And I've never buy physicals.
I want that nice 4K disc quality all the time
It's
because like
the
I have
okays.
like I watched Spider-Verse on Netflix, which is still like 4K, but and then when you watch it on Blu-ray, even when like the disc
Oh, yeah.
still makes a little bit of a difference when it's not streaming. It's just like, oh yeah. So it's just like I'd love
I've-
to,
I very rarely buy physical films. One
Mhm.
was like the last one was Spider-Verse because I absolutely love
Yeah.
that film. And honestly, this one might be, which is crazy to think how like out of DC I was. Like I was just
Yeah.
so Marvel fanboy. And then
They should
Crazy.
do like a recycle program. You know, you can trade up at EB Games your old consoles for new ones. They should trade in your old Justice League for new one.
and they just get sent to Warner Brothers. Fuck, we have all these Joss Whedon Justice League ones. What are we gonna do?
But yeah, my rating as I close out here. I will honestly, I didn't know how I was gonna go, but I'm gonna go a 9 out of 10 because like I like it. I like
Same as the
I
theatrical.
know, same as the theatrical. I like the theatrical for how like speedy it is and how quick to the action it was, and it had many other good things. And then this one just
I thought for
Yeah.
sure you're gonna go 9.5. I was surprised the pacing is that much to take it. So, but here's
No,
the thing
well-
though: the next time you want to watch Justice League, which one will you watch?
depends how
I
much
think
time
I
he
think I
has.
might
Yeah.
cut all the Whedon stuff and splice it with the Snyder cut and make like
oh
a
my,
6-hour
that doesn't
edition.
work. How does that work? Victor Stone's dad would die, and then in the end he's just there helping.
I'm gonna have
Cyborg.
like the trap family scenes at in
You got two Steppens. Steppens are like battling each other at some point.
Or he just plays the scene with the real Steppen, like the Snyder one, and then the Whedon one just back to back. Like,
Oh yeah, that's what I like.
well, there you go.
Give me my meat snack.
There's some wide variety of opinions as far as Taylor giving it the same score as that. So, Jessica, what is your score? Because we took bets on the last newscast, and we'll reveal after what we thought your score would be. So, what is your score? And then we will reveal it, and then we'll get out of here because it is late.
It's real. I'm so not looking forward to tomorrow.
I'm impressed that you're
I
awake,
guess
Jessica.
today.
Honestly, I
Yeah,
thought that you would.
today.
I was ready to fall asleep at the start of this cast. So
She's about to
Very
conk
impressed.
out.
Yeah, I give it a. But anyways, your score.
I 100% will not be giving this a 9 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10.
Oh.
She drops
Surprise,
the big old
surprise.
10 out of 10.
So
Perfect movie. Yeah.
Double digits.
We all put our money on 10 out of 10.
I think I'm actually gonna stick with my estimate of a 7 out of 10. I feel like it is a pass, and it was enjoyable. Definitely not a fail like the theatrical. I do plan on eventually watching it again when I'm not rushed and I can sit and enjoy it. So, it obviously had some redeeming qualities, but I don't feel like I'm going to go out and buy the steel case. And I'm definitely not going to start adding hashtag save the Snyderverse on all of my posts. But
Just one.
not one post.
You could get us a Snyder Cut Justice League 2 by adding one of those to your posts.
Yeah, you want to see Evil Superman? One hashtag. Boom.
Sound like those want to feed one child for 1 penny a day. Just one hashtag will feed the Snyderverse DC fanboys.
Feed him a hot dog.
Yeah, meat treat.
And definitely I'm going to put this movie in my pocket for times of stress.
Just like he put that hot dog right in his pocket.
So Kirklin, what did you think Jessica was gonna give it?
I don't remember saying. I thought we
I
had
actually
like a
don't
group
think he ever
vote.
did.
He definitely didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So me and Taylor are the same.
7 is what I guessed.
Oh yeah, right on the money. Me and Taylor went a 4. Because I did think a lot the stuff would be like, it's darker, like way more kind of BVS dark. And like I said, I thought Flash would be completely like retooled. I just thought because I remember BVS you did not enjoy and you failed that one. So I thought this was going to be more of that. I thought it was going to be a bit more of just because there's a bunch of characters, a bunch of storylines. So I went 4, but I was wrong.
Was it a 4? I thought it was a 3.
No, it's
I went 4. Maybe you went 3, but I went 4.
No, because I agreed with whatever you picked. I know I agreed with.
Yeah,
it.
I went 4 then. So we both thought you were gonna fail it. So there you go. We were wrong. Good job.
I mean, I don't usually rate movies anymore. I just kind of do the pass or fail. Even if we were to look at it that way, you guys would have said fail. I still would pass this movie. So I'm not going to go out and recommend it to all my friends and all of that, but it's definitely, if you got 4 hours to kill and you're a fan of DCU, check it out.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Who would have thought long time ago when I did our BVS review, and it was me, Taylor, Kirkland, Jessica, Emily, and Kyle, and us 3 gave it a pass, but Jessica, Emily, and Kyle failed it. Who would think, 5 years later, here we all would be passing this and talking about how excited we are for potential more. So
just to note, I think the only reason Kirkland passed it was because of Wonder Woman and like
he
his
enjoyed more.
That's not true.
Darkseid.
I mean,
at least 5.
I'm really been getting
points for him.
attracted to strong men lately. So Henry Cavill and
Yeah, but we're talking about
Alfred.
we're talking about previously.
previously.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main things that you
that
talked
was
about.
awesome because that was like the first time I saw like the whip in action and
Lasso. But maybe
And the whip.
maybe one day there'll be a place where you
BDSM.
can get some of those classic episodes back. So you never know what's on the horizon. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. So this was a big, meaty one, but there was lots to talk about. Obviously, this is a cast that was years in the making. And yeah, watch the movie. Obviously, at this point, you've probably seen it. But let us know whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube what you thought about. Thank you very much for listening. Listen to the best of stuff we have going on. Like I said, Falcon Winter Soldier will be coming up. Bunch of other reviews coming up for King Kong and Godzilla, Mortal Kombat. Patreon exclusives. Yeah, there's just tons of fun stuff. So thank you to always everyone that listened. And we promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the Snyderverse.